So, what now? Come on. How
You
about
didn't
a
need much
saw?
excuse.
Somebody needs to show you all how it's done.
Oh, let him have
Listen,
some
my
fun.
friend.
He's been through a lot.
You know the
I thought you Irish enjoyed a party, Molly.
I am enjoying it. I just don't need to fall over drunk with the rest of them.
That's the one.
You know this one, don't you? Go join in.
Mark well what I do say, and she was mistress of her trade.
Diddle all the day.
I put my hand upon her toe. Mark well what I do say.
She says, young man, you're rather low for the diddle all the day.
I put my finger on her knee.
Well, what I do say?
She says, young man, you're rather free.
For the diddle all the day.
I put my
Arm
arm
around her waist. Mark well, what I do say? She says, young man, you're in great for the diddle all the day.
I
Put my hand upon her thigh. Mark well, what I do say? She says you're getting pretty nice. Diddle all the day.
I put
My hand upon her ass. Mark well, what I do say? She says, let's lay down on the grass and diddle all the day. And we diddle did too.
Okay then.
Hi there, fellers.
Well, how are you,
So your drinking pal's back? With a vengeance, it seems. Yeah, I'd forgotten how loud you
had
was.
blonde hair and blue eyes too.
Let me ride on the ring-dang-doo, the ring-dang-doo. Now what is that? Soft and round like a pussy cat. Got a hole in the middle and a split in two. That's what you call the ring-dang-doo.
Took me down into her cellar, said that it was a mighty fine
Oh.
fellow. Fed me wine,
Whiskey too. Let me ride on the ring-dang-doo, the ring-dang-doo. Now what is that? It's soft and round like a pussy cat. Got a hole in the middle and a split in two. That's what you call the ring-dang-doo.
Her father come in, angrily said, now you have lost your
Maiden head.
Pack your bag, your coat bags too.
Make your living off ring-dang-doo, the ring-dang-doo. Now what is that? Soft and round like a pussy cat. Got a hole in the middle and split it in two. That's what you call a ring-dang-doo.
She went off to be a whore, hung this sign upon her door.
$1 each and 3 for 2. Take a crack at the ring-dang-doo, the ring-dang-doo. Now what is that? Soft and round like a pussy cat. Got a hole in the middle and it's split in two. And that's what they call a ring-dang-doo. You're a dirty man.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hopefully you are feeling just as good as Arthur, singing about the ring-dang-doo and the diddle all day. We could all use a little diddling in our day, don't you think? I think. I insist even. Diddle all day. And you will live a long and happy life. How's everybody doing? Glad to have you. Welcome. This is going to be sort of a quick and lean stream, just a heads up. Not because nothing's wrong. It's just been a crazy hectic couple of days trying to get stuff ready for the video that's about to go up in 17 minutes. I don't know what it is. I always get sent review codes well after everybody else. I think they just do it to troll me at this point. But like I'll see somebody tweet out like, oh, I got my review code. So excited to cover the game. And then like 3 days later, I'll get mine. And then I have 48 hours to play the 30-hour game when everybody else has like a full week. So I've just come to accept it. But it means that there's a lot of crunch involved. Ironically enough, talking about video games and reviewing video games that were developed with crunch while having to crunch. It's a good problem to have, if we're being honest. But we are just, it's a busy day. So I've been scrambling. Basically had to work all through the weekend. The wife and the baby weren't too thrilled about that. I was basically gone all Friday all Friday and all Saturday, working on those videos and stuff that we have to get up today and tomorrow. So we're working on that. But all told, I mean, it's going to be a good week. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are having a good time as well. Yeah, we'll talk about the Gotham Knights thing. That I'm so conflicted on that. Let me add that to our docket. FPS fiasco. Okay. So yeah, we'll tackle all of this. I've got a good number of news stories I want to tackle and discuss briefly. And then I'm going to push all of you guys to watch the video that's going to go up in 15 minutes. So we'll do that. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know if we'll talk about the Amaranth thing. It's horrible. I wish her the best. Nobody deserves to deal with anything like that. So hopefully the people immediately around her can get in there and help her do whatever she needs to do. I wish her the best. It's just horrible. Abusive relationships are just ridiculous. It's unbelievable that like you see that type of thing happen with like big, extremely wealthy streamers and media personalities, but it just goes to show you it can happen to literally anybody. So if it ever happens to you, go out there, talk to somebody, get some help. Everybody will be on your side. You just have to take that first step, because if nobody knows, nobody can help. So she's doing good by bringing it up and making it known. Let's see. Thoughts on AC Odyssey? Funny you mentioned that. M. Smith. I'm working on well, we finished it, but there's a video coming on Odyssey and the legacy of Assassin's Creed in recent years. So that will come up. It kind of depends on what review codes we get in the next week or so, what our upload schedule looks like. But that'll either go up like Friday or Monday. So there is something coming. I'd love to get some review codes. At this stage, all the games I've been reviewing wouldn't even know where to get a review code from these publishers. Yeah, no, that's part of it. And eventually, like, the thing is, there are big YouTubers that get like certain codes from certain publishers, and some others they don't get review codes. Like I've said, I can't be specific as of right now. Like everybody, well, before I say this, let me check my inbox real quick. So everybody on Twitter has been going off and off about how they have their review code for God of War. Ragnarok went out a couple of hours ago. I don't have anything in my inboxes about a God of War review code. But they did send me a review code for the Legacy of Thieves collection, which is the Uncharted games coming to PC, which is the same team. So they sent me a review code for another PlayStation release that they have. But they haven't sent one for this particular release for God of War. And I don't really understand or know why. It's just kind of weird. So, like I said, there's been with The Last of Us Part 1, they sent me the review code like a few days late. They had some technical issue and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know if a similar thing is going to happen with this, or if they just decided not to send it to me because I was so mean about The Last of Us Part 1. But if that's the case, then why did they send me the review code for the Legacy of Thieves? Maybe because they know that I really enjoy Legacy of Thieves. I don't know. But either way, like, it's a net positive either which way. Like, it's a win-win, because if I get the review code, I can put a review out on day one. If I don't get the review code, we play the game on stream, and then we put a big critique out. Like, either way, the content gets made. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Like, would I like the review code? Sure. But when you tend to bash companies as aggressively as I have in recent memory, it doesn't really shock me that they aren't too understanding with that type of thing. So we'll see. But yeah, like the review code for Legacy of Thieves. Like they sent that out to me, I think at the same time roughly that they sent out these God of War ones. And it looks like I just wasn't on the list for the God of War one. So we'll see. We'll see. But, you know, if it doesn't happen, in some ways I'm kind of relieved a little, because reviewing games are just, it's extremely stressful. And the rush is also rough, because like Naughty Dog doesn't tend, and Sony, they don't send out like information on how long a game is going to be. Other games that I've reviewed and done critiques of have told me specifically like, oh, expect this to be 15 hours, expect this to be 20 hours. A lot of games they don't tell you. Like for Elden Ring, they didn't tell anybody. They're like, yeah, it's a new game, have fun. So some people went into that thinking it was going to be 30 hours. Then they realize it's like 100, and it's like, oh, good God almighty. So it's just a little tricky, and it's extremely stressful. And I don't like, whenever I don't get a review code, it's kind of like a slight relief too, because my content isn't based on it. Like my critiques, if they go up a week or two after the game comes out, that's totally fine. Honestly, the video will probably perform better in the long run compared to a review. So I don't like, it's no sweat off my back. Like I don't really care that much. I'd like the review code, but like I won't complain about it. But with some channels, like you don't get the review code, you're screwed, because that's what your content is. Like ACG, he was talking, I forget what game it was, but he tweeted out that he didn't get a review code for blah, blah, blah. And he was just like kind of freaking out, understandably, because his content is reviews. So when he doesn't get a review code, that's a big problem, because those are his moneymaker. So with this, you know, for me, it's not a big deal, but let's see. Oh, this is funny. We can talk about that, Rocky. Copy. Let me add that to our docket as well. Also, Rocky, if you can pull up an article or something, or the Twitter thread about the Gotham Knights 30 FPS thing, that would be great, because I need to, I don't have a link for it to discuss it yet. But let's get into this. All told, I don't know if we'll get a review code for I don't know if we'll get a review code for the God of War game, but we're going to try and find out. And, you know, if we get it, great. If we don't, you know, bummer, but I won't worry too much. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Have I seen Phantom Fury? I have not. Outer Wilds, yes, it's good stuff. Good stuff. BSK in charge. I will talk about that briefly in a moment. We do have that on the docket. Thank you, Rocky, for that. Boom. Voila. Okay. Devere, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, Hellhound. We're gonna tackle that too. Rocky just sent me the link for that, so we'll talk about that. Brandon, I've always been curious about how review codes work. Do they send it to people they have developed relations with, or reviewers over a certain sub count? How do they decide who to send it to? Usually how it works, Brendan, is like say, well, let's just take God of War, for example. What will happen is I email PlayStation. Sometimes they reach out to you to get you put on a list. Very, very rarely, especially the big guys. Usually you have to seek them out. I'm sure if you're like 1 million subs plus, you get reached out to, but for me, it's usually you have to reach out to them. But you reach out to them and you say, hey, I would like to be considered for a review code, blah, blah, blah. Here's my channel. Here are my analytics. This is what we look like. All that. And then if they respond, which they don't always, because they get thousands of people asking to get review codes, most of which have like 50 subs, you know, and really don't qualify. But they go through it and they talk about all of it, and they look at their numbers and the teams, and usually they'll have a quota. They're going to be like, hey, we're going to give out 500 codes or 1,000 codes or 2,000 codes, whatever it is. And then they basically create a spreadsheet with everybody on it, with sub counts, with average view durations, with total views per month, with the performance of their past reviews, and they just go through and figure out who they want to send it to. And if you get sent it, great. If you don't, oh well, you just didn't pass it. One of the best companies about it is Focus Interactive. Focus Interactive, I have one guy I email. He's like a VP of whatever, and he, within like 20 minutes, will send me a review code for anything in their catalog. He's on it, and he does amazing work, and they are super transparent. It's great. As I've said before, like Xbox and Bethesda, they basically have entirely cut me off, which is just hilarious. They recently started sending me codes for like Fallout 76 DLC and stuff, which I just find hilarious. But, you know, it's whatever. And who else is there? Yeah, Sony's just really inconsistent. Sony, like I said, I bash Last of Us Part 1, so I'm like, oh, they might not send me any codes. Because I didn't really suck up to them and be like, oh, maybe for some people it's really good. I'm like, no, it's straight up like gross and extremely greedy. And so I was like, it would make sense if they didn't send it to me. But then they send me like the review code for the Legacy of Thieves collection. So I'm like, okay, so they still, like, I'm not blacklisted, but then apparently I don't get the God of War code. I just don't really understand how they made that determination, but you know, who knows? Who knows? Let's see. No, not there. Ring dang do. Now what is that? Soft and warm like a pussycat. Got a hole in the middle and it's split in two. That's what we call a ring dang do. Okay. I feel like a 12-year-old like refreshing to see if like his dad finally reached out to him. Maybe this time. Maybe this time. Updates. PlayStation. Hold on, what was this? Nope. Do I have a spam folder? I do. Yeah, I don't see anything there. Oh well. Oh well. I just realized there are a ton of like spam emails in here I have never seen. This one, would love for you to record a video for our upcoming play to earn game mech. We can pay or give you a mech NFT. Smiley face. And that is the whole email. I will politely decline, my friend. I will politely decline. I'm good. I'm good, fam. That's funny. But yeah, they'll send you a code if you do get approved. And it comes, I can't show you the sheet. I have a sheet printed off next to me. I can't show you because it's confidential. But they give you like a sheet, and then you sign the NDAs and everything. And you then have a code just like you buy on like G2A or whatever else. It's just a game key, and then you can go on Steam, activate game, put that in there, and it's usually the top of the line version of the game, you know, the deluxe, ultra, premium, whatever, because they just want you to have everything, and it's yours forever. Like, no problem. It's just like you activated any other game code. For like beta access and things, like when I did those preview events for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, occasionally they'll give you like a beta access build thing that they delete after the event. But there's a bunch of little stuff. Like you guys will notice if you're on the Discord, you'll notice that like for the last few days, I've been on Do Not Disturb mode, or I've been listed as invisible on Steam or whatever. And that's because like Discord will pull whatever you're playing and will display it and be like, oh, Luke Stevens is playing blah, blah, blah. So you have to disable all that. So there's just a bunch of little random things you have to do that you might not think about. Gotham Knights add-on. Oh, great. Okay, let's talk about this, though. First things first. G4 is shutting down less than a year after relaunching in a surprise. That doesn't surprise anybody. It took just about 11 months after it launched. And for those of you who weren't too familiar with this, maybe you're younger and you don't remember the old days. Basically, G4 was like a TV series way back in the day, and it was like the hub. It was so cool. There were constant like gaming trailers and updates and everything. It was before like IGN and YouTubers really became mainstream and were like the go-to place for gaming news and journalism and things. And it was fun. It was everybody's dream to get there and to work there. Jeff Keighley was on there for a while. It was like the place to be. And now, like, I think in general, the community has just kind of grown out of it. It's just not really relevant anymore. I don't think you need a G4 in the modern day, but they tried to bring it back. Comcast brought it back, and they threw millions and millions and millions of dollars at it, and it didn't work for a bunch of reasons. As you see here, quote, a memo sent from Dave Scott, the CEO of Comcast's Spectacor division. What? They mean I don't know. Said the new G4 didn't attract enough viewers and the network didn't make enough money. It's absolutely true. Their videos, they were putting out 1 to 2 a day, and they were averaging like 10 to 20,000 views, which for a small YouTuber is great. When you have 35 employees or 40 employees, or in this case, a few dozen, so like at least 36 employees, and tons of contract workers currently there, that doesn't work. Like, that's probably, if I'm being honest, not enough for a person to actually make a living on, if that's all they're doing. Like one person making a living. So for a whole TV network that has millions of dollars in overhead, huge studios, lighting, cameras that they're financed on or leasing, like that, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. Scott said in the memo to staff, quote, viewership is low and the network has not achieved sustainable financial results. This is certainly not what we had hoped for, and as a result, we have made the very difficult decision to discontinue G4's operations effective immediately. Yeah, back in the day, it launched on 2002 from NBC Universal and Dish Network and featured a range of hosts like Olivia Munn, Kevin Pereira, Chris Hardwick, among others. The first iteration of G4 shut down in 2014 before plans were announced in 2020 to revive the network once again. The reason it shut down back then, again, was because the internet personalities were taking over, and they didn't really, I don't think a place like G4 could reasonably compete with the sheer number of YouTubers and streamers and stuff that are able to do it. And plus the big corporate, situation doesn't really work too well. One of the new hosts that they brought in, Froskuren, also known as Frosk, who departed the network a few weeks ago, listed off some of the affected G4 staffers on Twitter. They are prime candidates for new roles at other companies, she said, and tagged a bunch of people that have left and now are going elsewhere. Frosk is somebody that has been roundly mocked after her time at G4. I'll be honest, I had never heard of her before that whole debacle, and I still don't really understand what she does or who she is. I just don't understand it. Apparently streams occasionally 2 months ago. I just don't get it. I don't get it. But basically what happened is she went on and bashed a bunch of gamers, said that they were, gamers are sexist, and it just isn't a good look. Like, is there a problem with sort of regularized, promoted sexism in the gaming industry? Maybe. I think, like, you could make a decent argument, I think, especially when you look at how some people, like, at least on Twitter, which is never a good example of anything, react to, like, say, Ellie being a lesbian confirmed in The Last of Us Part 2. Some of the stuff people were saying was unbelievable. Like, they're proudly saying it publicly. Even some huge YouTubers, like The Quartering, the fact that they have a platform is amazing. And he covers a lot of gaming and pop culture stuff. So I get that. The problem is you just never bash your audience. Like, it just doesn't work. It's if you bash your audience and then you say, and if you don't like what I'm saying, then stop watching. Okay, you shouldn't be surprised when they leave, Like, that's as simple as it is. And that's what inevitably happened is they left and the viewers stopped watching. And you can see, if you go back on G4's YouTube channel, you can see like 100,000 views, 150,000 views. And then you see her rant, which now they've deleted. You can't find it on G4's official platform. It's been mirrored everywhere, but they deleted it, distanced themselves from her because they realized that's all anybody knew G4 for was, oh, they're the ones that like bash gamers and think that all gamers are sexist and stuff because they promoted Frosk and everything that she was saying. And it just slowly ticked down until eventually they landed where they are now, where they're getting less views than, like, in some cases, less views than we get on this secondary clips channel. Like, this channel is a few months old. We're just getting started on this channel. And, like, people, you know, with millions of dollars and dozens of employees aren't competing with it. It's just amazing to me. But they got booted out and they got pushed out. I think it's just what happens when you kind of sit in a bubble, and also when somebody is like, nobody will listen to feedback. Because all you need is one like hard ass boss who looks at the list and the like docket for the day and what's going to go up on the live stream. And then it's like, wait, Frost rants about sexism in the industry. Okay, maybe like, are people watching us for those discussions, or are they watching us for like feel good gaming entertainment? Like, it's the same thing. Like, I can have really strong opinions on politics or financial policy or ethics and morality, religion. I can have opinions on all of that stuff, but that's not why you guys are here. Let's be completely honest. You don't give a shit. You shouldn't. Like, I'm some moron who makes gaming videos. Okay. Like, if you want to hear my opinion on stuff in the right context, I'm more than happy to talk about it. I'm not afraid of that. I have no opposition to it, but like, to pass it off as like my main, like, as if you should care, is just insane to me. And that's kind of what this came off with Frosk, is like, she does this big rant and everybody's like, who asked? Like, we're good. Like, what you're saying isn't even that necessarily controversial, but the fact that you're lecturing everybody like a school teacher yelling at kindergartners was part of what turned everybody off. And I think if the rest of the panel had been like, okay, calm down, you know, if they had been like kind of jokey with it, I don't think it would have been a big deal. But what was Adam, is it Adam Sessler? He's the like the other guy that was on the, I think it's Adam Sessler, but he said that like the Frost grant was one of the best moments of his entire career, and he was extremely proud to have been there for it. Like, just hilariously simpy. Like, it was just bad. It was just bad. So all told, G4 is shut down. Everybody that was working there has lost their jobs, and you know, nobody should celebrate the unemployment of anybody unless they truly deserve it. Of course, in that case, you can laugh. You know, like, I had some bosses back in the day. If they had gotten fired, I wouldn't be like, well, let's maintain a solemn disposition. I would have been like, yeah, suck it, loser. But in this case, you know, these people, I'm sure, worked their asses off and really tried to make something great. And for many reasons, most of which were out of their control, they just couldn't nail it. Like, they couldn't figure it out, and they couldn't make it happen. And you know, I wish them the best, but it does just go to show, like, I think in large part, all of this does land on Frosk. Like, it's pretty clear her rant, you can see in the numbers, at that point, the viewership started dropping. Because she asked, if you don't like what I'm saying, and if you think that I'm wrong for bringing this up or whatever, then don't watch. And people were like, I want to watch gaming content. I don't want to watch and be lectured. So they just stopped watching, went elsewhere, and slowly but surely, you know, it tanked until all these people lost their jobs. So yeah, I'm glad she's at least trying to help them a little bit, but I would say that a lot of this probably lands on Miss Frosk, unfortunately for everybody else. But that's the end of G4. I don't think they're bringing it back after this. I think that's the end of it. So what are you going to do? Let's see the next thing. Thank you, Kunal, by the way, for the 100 rupees, I believe that is. Just so you know, Konami has hosted a new Silent Hill website, and there's a showcase October 19th. This is not a hoax. Ooh. We have that on the docket. We will talk about that. We will touch on that. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I can't wait for G5 to drop. Just wait. It's going to blow you away. It's going to be utterly amazing. The whole thing will be voiced by Chris Pratt. Okay, next thing. Dev says Series S is the reason the Gotham Knights games have to be locked at 30 FPS. Basically, if you missed it, this Discord message, I'm assuming it's a Discord server for fans of Gotham Knights. They went on there, this Fleur Marty, looks like, went on and said, hello at everyone. I know many of you are wondering about the availability of performance mode for Gotham Knights on consoles due to the types of features we have in our game, like providing full untethered co-op experience in our highly detailed open world. It's not as straightforward as lowering the resolution and getting higher FPS. For this reason, our game does not have a performance or quality option and will run at 30 FPS on consoles. Understandably, this upset a lot of people. Lee Devenald, who I believe is a developer at Rocksteady. I might be wrong. But he said, quote, I wish gamers understood what 60 FPS means in terms of all the things they lose to make the game run that fast, especially taking into account that we have a current gen console that's not much better than a last gen one. Pete then said, interesting, I'm genuinely wondering where would be the bottleneck, if there is any, in the latest consoles. Do we already have datas on that, or are their consoles globally balanced? Which, in case you're missing out on basically what they're saying you have to develop for the lowest common denominator. So if there's a weak console, you have to develop for that, and then everything else gets scaled up from that. But it has to be able to work on the weakest possible console, which is why the Xbox Series S was such a concern when they announced it, because it's basically an Xbox One X in terms of power, from what I've been told. And so the concern is just that even though it's next gen, it's not really next gen. Like it's basically the best from last gen. So it's just not quite the same. So there's that concern, which, is what's being referenced here. Lead says that Series S GPU mostly, multi-platform games always have to optimize for the lowest performer, which is true. I mean, the Series X is much more powerful than the Xbox One, but yeah. And then he says the Series S exists though. And Xbox won't let you launch on one without the other. An entire generation of games hamstrung by that potato, which I understand the sentiment. What I understood from the Digital Foundry breakdowns of this was that the Series S is built, though, in a way where it can scale, the issue being mostly memory related. I don't really understand why this game is struggling so much to get running at higher frame rates on the Series S, but what are you going to do? I also am pretty sure that you can change the performance on the Series S versus X in terms of like what it allows you to enable, because like the Series X of course has more power in it, so you can push higher resolutions and frame rates through that. So if this argument is true and it really is just the Series S that's the weakest link, why can't you just add a toggle for performance or fidelity mode and just disable the toggle on the Series S? Like, I don't understand. Like, yeah, you're launching it on both consoles, but just force it to play locked at 30. They do this already with some games where the option in the settings menu is just grayed out. You can't select it because it's not supported on your console. But on Series X, you can change it. Why not do that? You know, like, I don't really understand. Help me understand. Yeah, this is also, we did touch on this. They're also adding a 4-player co-op mode that's separate from the game, but will be a free update for people who own it. It's just, there's something a little fishy with it. And, you know, I understand game development is extremely hard. And we need to understand this and not be like the cocky pricks who are like, oh, you guys are just being lazy. You know, you got to figure it out. Game development is really difficult. Okay. Nobody's really doubting that. The point is here, and I think what bothers most people is that it feels like they're being disingenuous and even slightly deceitful with their excuses. If they were just like, hey, for stability reasons, we're just locking it at 30 on consoles. And then they just don't talk about it. Just don't bring it up again. It'll be easier that way. Don't touch it. Like, just leave it alone, please. Everybody will be fine. But instead, like, they just keep trying to explain it away. And then people are like, okay, if you want to compare yourself to other developers, we'll look at Insomniac. We'll look at Cyberpunk. We'll look at any of these other games that now run on Series S and are fine. Like, they can run at high frame rates too. And I think they probably look better than Gotham Knights. So it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I don't think that this, like, disqualifies the game. I don't really understand why people, like, I saw somebody there like, I'm returning the game. I'm not going to touch this garbage. Like, that seems a little excessive. Like, yeah, there are, you saw this in the Plague Tale video. There are red flags. But do I think that this automatically dismisses the game from being decent? No. I think the game could still be tremendous. But we'll just have to see. You know, it's, and the more you talk about it, the easier it is for them to, the easier it is for people to jump on you. Like, gamers will always find things to complain about if you provide them enough ammunition to do that. And when you, like, acknowledge this stuff, you talk about it publicly, and then you keep trying to justify it and explain it, you just end up making things worse, because you just give the YouTubers who will rant about it more fodder to make reaction videos on. And so you just gotta do it. Yeah, Corey, you're right. Luke, stop complaining about complaining. Yeah, you're not wrong. So all told, I understand the frustration, but, like, of course, I would rather it has 60 FPS. And I think that, like, with 60 FPS, the game would probably be much more appealing for a lot of people, especially if you spend all this money. But also, like, I guess I'm just not totally convinced. Ooh, yeah, Groovy. Ooh, Groovy. Is it going to read it? It should read it.
Stephen Folden donated $5 through Super Chat. Luke, will we be getting a 2 hours deep analysis of Squirrel with a Gun when it comes out?
God willing. I will try. Thank you, my friend, for the $5. Appreciate you, Steven. So, like, up until quite recently, 30 FPS was the standard. Like, every PlayStation exclusive that a lot of these guys are hyping up released with that frame rate, and people love those games, you know. So obviously you can have a great game that runs at 30 FPS. Are you going to tell me honestly that if they release Grand Theft Auto 6 that runs at 30 FPS on consoles, that you're not going to buy it? Or that it's not going to be great? Are you going to tell me Red Dead Redemption 2 is trash because it runs at 30 FPS on console? It's insane. It's ridiculous. Of course those games are great, even at 30 frames. We can say, well, it's 2022. We should have better frame rates. I can understand that desire. But also, it's everything in game development is a matter of priorities. If the developers prioritize, for example, ray tracing or higher resolutions in exchange for lower frame rates, that's their prerogative. You don't have to like it. You don't have to buy the game, of course. But does that mean the game's going to be terrible because of it? No, of course not. Like, the game could still be great. We don't know. I would say right now, with everything I see with Gotham Knights, as I whack the microphone, like, there's a lot of things concerning that make me worried for where it's going. But I don't know. I know we'll only know if and when they send a review code for me to tackle it. But as of right now, I'm quite skeptical. But what I am saying is that to dismiss the game writ large, not writ large, that's the improper use of that word, or that phrase, to dismiss the game whole cloth because they capped it at 30 is a stupid reason to dismiss the game, especially because I have the feeling there will be a lot of other reasons to dismiss the game. Okay, so like, relax. But if you want to start playing the game, if you want to, like, assert that you're not going to buy any game that runs at 30 frames, I think you're going to dismiss a lot of really amazing games that are coming out in the next few years. Like, I think you're going to be missing out on a lot if you put that, because I would fully expect that a lot of these developers, especially the big guys who don't give a crap really what we think, and certainly what Twitter thinks, they're going to probably go back to the 30 frames thing. And I would not be shocked at all if they do that. Like, I do not honestly expect them to put out, like, for example, the Suicide Squad game or GTA 6. I don't expect those to run at 60 frames. If they do, that'd be great. But as of right now, I would say that I don't put much weight into the 60 FPS is the new standard. I just don't think that that's necessarily the case. But you know, until then we'll see. But yeah, are you comparing Gotham Knights to Red Dead? The frame rates. Like, if you're, the whole point is, if you're saying that Gotham Knights can't be a good game because it runs at 30 frames on console, then you have to also say that Red Dead Redemption 2 can't be a good game because it runs at 30 FPS on consoles. And that's, of course, ridiculously stupid. That's an insane thing to say. So, and you can say, well, it's 2022, we should be doing better. Maybe, but that's your humble opinion. And if they think that the game is great at 30 FPS, then we'll evaluate it at 30 FPS. And I would guess the game will fall or rise on its merits as a video game, not because of the frame rate. Like, the reasons that Gotham Knights looks sussy has nothing to do with the frame rate, okay? We can add it as one more, like, you know, mark against it, but the game is suspicious for a lot of other reasons. I don't think you need to rely on the freaking frame rate to bash the game. I think there's a lot of other things you can point to, so we'll just leave it there. Certainly, meow meow. Certainly, the 60 FPS does feel way better to play. I think all of us would probably prefer 60 FPS. Anybody who says no and I prefer 30 is probably, they just don't really know what 60 FPS brings to the table. But for me, 60 FPS is a great addition on console, but it is not a prerequisite for a recommendation, if that makes sense. Forgot Suicide Squad was even a thing. Yeah, they kind of crawled back in their hole until they have more to share. Also, everybody, if you could hit the like button, that would really help. The like button will help share this out to more people who might want to come in and hang out with us. So make sure to hit that like button. We can easily get to 100 likes here pretty quickly. We have 150 plus people in here. We can easily get to 100 likes. So let's do it. Let's make it happen. Juan, did we stop streaming on Twitch? We came over to YouTube as they started to we came over here from Twitch when they started to sort of melt and announce some weird stuff. And we were just going to try it for like a couple of days. And then we found out that like literally 95% plus people, 95% plus of viewers of this channel, the live channel, prefer YouTube. Like, it's not even close. Just being able to pause the video, go back, rewatch VODs permanently, like, people greatly prefer it. So now I feel like if I ever went back to Twitch, then there would also be a riot here because people seem to really, really prefer YouTube. So Steven coming out swinging with these donos. Thank you.
Stephen Folden donated $5 through Super Chat. What is a deal breaker for yourself, Luke? Mechanics, microtransactions, ECT. For me, it's when there is no squirrel with a gun.
That's a fair. You know what? You got to set your standards, man. You got to set it and then forget it. And that's a good one to have. Can you imagine, like, God of War, Ragnarok, pretty good. No squirrels, no guns. Can't recommend it. Can't recommend it. I would say it's a good question. I mean, for me, the deal breaker usually is if the monetization gets to the point where it greatly affects the gameplay. That's a big issue. Valhalla, I would say the grind gets so aggressive that it honestly feels like the only way to bypass 30 hours of misery and boredom is to spend the $5 to get the XP boost to blast through it. So I'd say that's a big deal breaker. It's also part of the reason that I really struggle to recommend something like Shadow of War, because the grind, like the game was built around having a massive grind. That's how they designed it. So stuff like that causes a big issue for me, and I tend to have trouble recommending games at that point if they exhibit issues like that. As for other deal breakers like mechanics, yeah, like if Spider-Man, for example, if Spider-Man came out, then and like the swinging sucked, then yeah, I would have an issue with that. You know, like, so there's always going to be mechanics that can ruin the entire game. Like, it's a racing game, but there's no accelerate button. Like, then there's an issue there, right? So for me, it's kind of a case by case basis. The monetization thing can really spoil a good thing. Like, Shadow of War can be a solid game, but if they ruin the last act with microtransactions and forcing you to go through and buy legendary orcs and stuff and loot boxes, then yeah, that's an issue. And that could take it from being a good game I recommend and I'm having fun with, and they just ruin it. So it kind of depends, but it's a good question. Let's talk about this. Also, yes, everybody, real quick, just so you know, I did put up a review for Plague Tale Requiem, which I got a review code for. Been playing that over the weekend. It's freaking phenomenal, and I am not joking when I say that I think Plague Tale Requiem is one of my new favorite games. Like, it's pretty tremendous, and I was pretty blown away. Like, people, I see like IGN is saying they played it safe and things. I just think time and time again it was pretty remarkable. They did a pretty good job with it. But it's available on Game Pass day one. Like, this is what I mean when I say like Game Pass just totally changes anything. Like, or to everything. Like, it used to be, well, the game is really solid, but it does this, and this well, this, and this kind of okay, and a couple things bad. So it's probably a wait for a sale. But nowadays, if it's on Game Pass, it's just like, yeah, try it. It's great. For that, it's yeah, go for it. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. It works well. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Kunal, for the 100 rupees. Are you going to review Gotham Knights on PC or console? Sorry, I was being a bit over the top earlier about the FPS. Oh, no, you're fine, Kunal. I think I probably will do it mostly on PC. Console, I mean, at this point, I feel like I probably need to touch on the Series S thing and try it on console locked at 30 frames and just see how different it is. I really don't know. But usually I play on PC, and if I have the ability to try it on console, I'll try it on console. But, should I try it? I would say if you have the ability to, play the first game first, you're going to want to do that, because the first game really requires a good amount of, the second game kind of assumes that you played the first. So, and they refer to it a lot and the events of it a lot. So I would say play the first game, which I think is also on Game Pass. It's only like 8 to 10 hours long, and then try the second game right after and just blow into it. It's great. It's really good. Let's see. Lawrence. Hey, Luke, I'm quite enjoying or quite liking the opinion vids on the second channel. How did you view the feedback on the chess and Neiman video? I thought it was good. Like, overall, I think with Neiman, I'm still in the position, like, he's a strong player, obviously. He's very good. And we don't have nobody's really doubting that. The question is whether or not he is using occasional assistance in these games against super GMs, because he just will go out of nowhere and just, like, he'll be playing fine, solid, like 2600 level, and then he'll come out and make a perfect series of like 3 moves. in a super complicated position, and he makes those moves in like 15 seconds. So either he's extremely lucky, he's one of the best players of all time that developed this skill in his late teens, which almost never happens. Usually prodigies start younger. So maybe that, or there's something fishy going on. At this point, there's so much like cheat detection stuff going on around him. I don't think over the board he'd ever be able to get away with it again. But we'll just have to see. I don't understand how you can cheat in chess, Brandon. Basically, it's like Magnus said in that article that we read in that highlight video. All you need at that level is like a single bit of information, a single like yes or no, because in a really complicated position with like a clear sacrifice or risk to be had, if a super GM is looking at it and is like, I think this sacrifice works, but it's super complicated and I'm not sure. All he needs is a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If it's a thumbs up, he knows go for it. The engine analyzed it 50 moves deep. It's safe. You will win if you do that. Then he makes it and he will conquer. Like you can't beat a super jam with that. But if it's a thumbs down, then he's okay. No, then I'll just play for a draw. And he plays for a draw, gets the draw. Like at the super GM level, if white wants a draw, you'll get a draw. There's easy ways to force it at that level. So it's really just a matter of whether or not white plays for a win. And if black holds, black will get a draw pretty much every game. Like Bobby Fischer said the biggest realization he ever had in chess, like his epiphany, was when he realized as black, he could play for the win instead of just trying for a draw. And a lot of people who play on lower levels might not understand that. But when you're playing on a super GM level, the understanding is like if you play as black, your goal is a draw. Winning is just not realistic. That's how big of a difference starting the game makes at that level. So it's just different. But there's all sorts of ways to cheat. As for what Hans did or didn't do, again, maybe he was just freakishly lucky and he just made some quick like gut feeling moves and they happened to be perfect and he freaked like Magnus out. I don't know. But chess.com then did their analysis, found that he likely cheated in over 100 games that he said he didn't cheat in because his play was too perfect. And this is after he's publicly admitted to cheating with a computer engine in the past with online games. So it's just, at this point, I think it's reasonable to conclude something fishy is going on. I think at this point, they are doing metal detectors. They're doing all sorts of stuff, having them play in closed off rooms with nobody else in the spectating areas, stuff like that. So I don't think ever again over the board he'd be able to manage it. But for this, I just think it's probably mostly over. But it's good to have these discussions because a lot of people, are getting introduced to the world of competitive chess through this, which is, it's unfortunate. I would have rather they got introduced to it through something not related to a scandal, but yeah, people were thinking that it was like an anal insert with like, one of those butt plugs that has like a vibrator that you can activate through your phone. Somebody thought that it was something like that. And he had that in, and then his coach or somebody with a computer engine pulled up, he would like look at the position, which is, broadcast to everybody all throughout the world live. And they'd look at the position and then like through a series of like Morse code or something, they would communicate what the right move was, which is just hilarious. So like, people started seeing pictures of them with the metal detectors with Hans Niemann's ass, just like very carefully checking it. It's funny. Can you imagine you go to play a chess tournament? They're like, we have to do an inspection. We need to inspect before you go in and play your game. That would be pretty funny. Let's see. Yeah, everybody, remember to like the stream. We only need 6 more likes to hit 100. I have no doubt there are 6 people in here listening right now, maybe doing something else, who are like, somebody else will like the video. We're at the point now where we need your likes. Well, yeah, 3 people we need 3 more likes, then we'll be at 100. I know you guys are listening. I know you're listening. Boom, 104. We did it. Boom. I was one of them. Lauren's like, got you. I figured you out. We got there. We made it. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Appreciate you. It does help. It does honestly help. It's amazing what sometimes just asking people to do will do. Like, it's kind of hilarious that call to action does happen. Like, it's just funny. Like, I remember we watched, I think it was on stream, we watched a video of like the top earning Twitch streamers, and one of them was whatever that guy is that was caught using the N-word super casually. I don't recognize him, but he's the one that always has like the girls on stream with shot collars and stuff. It's really weird. But he has like one of the top streams in terms of revenue in the planet, or on the planet, and it's because he said, like, when asked, how do you get people to sub and donate and stuff? He's like, I just kind of jokingly say, if I don't get 10 subs in the next 10 minutes or the next 2 minutes, I'm turning off the stream. He's like, weirdly, people do it. Like, I'm half joking, but people just keep doing it. I was like, oh, okay. I guess it works. Steven, again, thank you for the donation, for the super chat. $5. Thank you.
Stephen Folden donated $5 through super chat. Are you telling me I've been using a vibrating butt plug wrong this whole time?
Sure am. You should have been playing chess. Should have been playing chess. Let's see. Spin my chair to test the thing. I can't spin the chair anymore because I have wired headphones. So when I had wireless headphones, I could do that. But now I get all tangled up if I try to do that. Let's talk about the next story real quick. Cause we're moving slow and it's starting to heat up in here. Ooh, it's getting hot in here. Okay, this one. Sony may cancel PlayStation Showcase because of Microsoft. Funny. The console wars are one of the... Oh, I can't highlight stuff on this? Game ranks, what's up? Oh, now the whole page is frozen. There we go, okay. Game ranks. A little sussy. Okay, console wars, one of the most important things in gaming history, blah, blah, blah. Sony has been known to drop a PlayStation Showcase in September, and last year... Ooh, thank you. Oh, Steven, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. And now you can use all of the emotes that we have on the channel now, because I figured out how to add those. So Sony has been known to drop a PlayStation Showcase in September, and last year they revealed a detailed many top titles for the PS5 system. Gamers eagerly awaited the news of when the showcase would drop, but no word from Sony has come. Now, an industry insider is stating the reason for this is that Sony may have canceled the delay, or caused a delay, or that's weirdly worded, due to Microsoft's attempted buyout of Activision Blizzard. Millie said, quote, loading. The ongoing CMA investigation for the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard has indeed delayed any showcase plans for Sony. Exclusive titles and first-party IP were locked in. Sony believe a showcase would add weight to Microsoft's arguments. Silent Hill and Kojima, who am I, reveal were part of the show. 2 out of 2. The initial announcement of the showcase was scheduled for 11th of October, with the showcase taking place on the 20th. Sony is holding firm for now. Which is really funny, because basically if you've been missing it, this is a very accurate meme. I like this. In case you missed it, effectively what happened is Microsoft is saying, hey, you guys who are deciding if we should be allowed, the regulators, if you're like who are deciding if we should be allowed to acquire Activision Blizzard, you guys are saying that we shouldn't be allowed to buy Activision because we will use it to create exclusives. And you're saying this because Sony has been petitioning you, saying that Xbox will have an unfair advantage if they can buy studios and IP and then make those exclusive to the Xbox platform. It's not fair because then Sony players can't play those games. And Microsoft is like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, you do this all the time. All the time. Like, come on. Ina, gee, thank you for coming member, my friend. Appreciate you. Good to see you again. It's been a minute. Einar's been one of our top supporters on Patreon for ages. Years and years. So with this, it's like, it's just so rich that they've been playing like so dirty, suggesting Microsoft is the one being unreasonable and taking advantage of consumers. And they're doing the same thing. They've been doing it for years, which is why Microsoft's being pushed into this position. And then they realize so clearly, they realize that all of this makes them look really bad if they were to come out with a big presentation and say, yeah, we have a ton of new exclusive games that are not going to Xbox. If they do that in the middle of this investigation, yeah, that looks pretty bad. They're like, yeah, Microsoft will make games exclusive. Anyway, we got to be back. We have to go do a showcase where we're going to announce a bunch of exclusive games for our platform. Like, it's so dumb. It looks so stupid. I don't know about this. Like, I don't know. Who is this person? Entertainment and media data analyst. Stats crazy. I own and play all 3 consoles. Opinions are mine. No request, please. I don't know. Does she work for anybody? And I'm a little sussed out when an insider doesn't work with any like established company. It seems a little weird to me. Like it's just a person saying stuff. But I mean, what would make sense, or what I will say, is that this does make sense. It would check out why they didn't do anything, why they haven't touched on it. I find it weird that they would slip in that this stuff is going to be there, because Kojima Who Am I thought that was tied into Xbox already. Am I missing something? I thought the new Kojima game was tied into Xbox. Spilled my drink all over my lip. I don't have a drinking problem. I'm fine. Oh, you know what? Slips out every once in a while. Every once in a while. It's okay. Okay. So all of that said, I think this, I would probably put money on this being true, because it lines up. It makes sense. It's been weird that Sony hasn't said anything recently about their upcoming games. Even like God of War, you would have expected to see like a trailer or something. And I think the reason they've been staying quiet on it does check out. It's probably because they're trying to stay out of the headlines, because if the regulators see in the headlines, oh, Sony's big new exclusives coming out, that looks pretty bad for them. And they are trying desperately to stop this Activision Blizzard thing, because it does look really grim for PlayStation if Microsoft pulls it off. Leaky Lip Luke. Yeah, exactly. Dark mode on website. Oh yeah, you see all of my it's election season. We are getting all of the Google ads for politics stuff. It's happening. 'Tis the season. Oh yeah. 'Tis the season for cringy political ads. We don't have horrible ones in Colorado, I will say. There are some hilarious political ads that I've seen. Like most of them were from like a year or two ago. Like what's this? Where's this? Oh yeah, you remember this one? This guy was such a weirdo. Hold on, look at this. Look at this.
There is an inferno raging in Washington.
Swamp Captain Mitch McConnell has...
So this guy, he talks really funny, but he wanted to make the point that Washington was a dumpster fire. So he did an ad where he had a dumpster on fire. It's just funny. Hellhound, thank you for becoming a member, my friend. Appreciate you. Colorado. I love how only people from Colorado call it Colorado. Colorado. How do you say it? How do you say it? Colorado. Colorado. Do people say Colorado? Oh, I didn't get it. There's a little gnat flying around.
There's an inferno raging in Washington.
There's an inferno.
Mitch McConnell has created millions of jobs for China people.
Then Mr. Trump said,
I wasn't ready for that. He just said it so casually, man. Millions of jobs for China people. So serious and stern. This is a political official. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow. Oh goodness. Okay.
said,
Mitch McConnell has created millions of jobs for China people.
Then Mr.
It's just so...
Trump said, "You're fired."
This is funny because this guy, Ron DeSantis, if you're not in the U.S., he's like one of the front runners to probably run for president this coming election. He'll probably take the Republican Party's nomination if I had to put money on it. Governor of Florida, he candidate for governor. He won this election, so he is the governor of Florida. But he ran being like Trump's number 2 guy, like endorsed by Trump. All of his ads were him like reading Trump books and stuff to his kids. Like it's kind of cringe. But now he's like going on the attack against Trump and trying to tear him down, because if Trump runs again, he'll have to beat him up. And so they've just totally turned. It shows how insidious like politics are. Like one person can raise you up to become governor of Florida, and then you turn and tear them apart because they become your adversary.
I love that part.
I want to see some of the Southern ads, because in the South, like Colorado, we don't have terrible ads. In the South, there are unbelievable ads where like it's just like gun fetishism. So you just see political candidates like shooting deer in their video, like their campaign ads, or gutting fish in the video. Like it's just funny.
I'm Levi Tilleman. Washington needs
I read as I say Colorado isn't that bad. We get one from Colorado.
more doers and innovators.
Never hold.
We need more doers and innovators. And then he has them spray him with pepper spray.
More doers and innovators.
Never
Why? I don't get it.
hold town halls anymore with constituents.
Together America works. Together America works. Together America works. Together America works.
You've lost that centrist feeling, 'cause you've been right-wing appealing.
It's incredibly painful. And now I just can't see anything.
Why did you spray yourself with pepper spray, man? I don't get it.
Gotta make a lane. Wanna make a difference, gotta make a change. Got peace, got peace, got peace, got peace.
What about this tells you this person should be in charge of national policy?
We have a bold agenda. A vagenda.
Oh. I was going to say, do you have an agenda for when you go to Congress? It was a trick question. I wanted you to say you have an Avenger.
Absolutely refuse to bow down to Sharia law.
This is Jake, young man.
Yeah, this guy, Brian Kemp. I think he won. I think he's currently the governor of Georgia. And like, this whole ad is him like pointing a shotgun at a teenager. It's weird, man.
Interested in one of my daughters.
Sir, that's me, shooting the cap and trade bill. Now the threat is Patrick Morrissey's lawsuit. He is just dead wrong, and that ain't going to happen.
I support the Second Amendment.
Bill Ray.
I just love it. But this stuff works. Like, you got to ask, why do they keep doing this? Why do they keep making these ads? It's because they work. These ads work. And so they do them. That's why. They wouldn't keep doing it if it didn't continue to get votes. So, like, there are people out there who are like, oh, I don't know if I like these guys. Politicians suck. And then they see a video of, like, the politician shooting a gun, and they're like, oh, no, okay, so he's cool. He's cool. It's weird.
Ready for Congress.
Ron loves playing with the kids.
Build the wall.
His China family has given him tens of millions of dollars. We've got the deportation.
Dude.
His China family has given him
That's not okay, man. It's not cool.
tens of millions of dollars. We've got the deportation bus. That's right, you heard me. The Michael Williams deportation bus.
It's just unbearable. It's like lava in your eyes.
Gonna fill this bus
Again, why did you pour pepper spray in your eyes? I don't understand the gimmick.
with illegals to send them back to where they came from.
Some people see a dumpster fire and do nothing but watch the spectacle.
I will beat Joe Manchin and ditch cocaine
And film campaign ads in front of it.
Mitch.
And do nothing but watch the spectacle.
I will beat Joe Manchin and ditch cocaine Mitch for the sake of the kids.
Cocaine Mitch? Okay, Mitch McConnell is the turtle man. He doesn't, like... I don't get it. I don't understand why you call him cocaine. I don't get that one. Maybe I miss it. Maybe they're saying like he's so fried because he did so much cocaine. But he's always been like that. That insult doesn't make any damn sense at all. Like if you called like Hunter Biden Cocaine Hunter or something, I get that. That makes sense because he's clearly done a lot of cocaine. But Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like calling like your sweet old grandma Cocaine Betsy. It doesn't make any sense because like, no, it's funny because she doesn't do cocaine. It's like that. I don't think that's how funny works.
Oh my god.
Non-lethal school defense is part of the
for the sake
solution.
of the kids.
Okay, so I think I see this. He's trying to make the point that you don't need like guns in schools to defend schools. So he's saying pepper spray is just as potent and can stop somebody dead in their tracks with that. Though not literally dead in their tracks. I just don't see why you had to spray yourself with pepper spray. I mean, I guess now I know who Levi Tilleman is. I guess so. I guess it kind of worked. But why not just do like a whole campaign series of ads where you're just doing like the Jackass thing? And you're just like having like jumping off a roof, having a bull impale you in the butt. Like do stuff like that. They talk and look like Telltale characters. You're not wrong, Steven. They absolutely do.
Oh my god.
Wow. Those are amazing. I just wasn't ready for how out of left field this guy comes.
Captain Mitch McConnell has created millions of jobs for China people.
Then
I just can't, dude, for real. Oh God. Anyway, yeah, so 'tis the season for political ads. Hopefully we get some funny ones. It's like the Super Bowl, but people don't realize they're being funny. They mean it very seriously, and we just get to enjoy and laugh along the way. I can't believe that. I cannot believe that. But these are like serious candidates with millions of dollars behind them. Millions of dollars. Like, that's the best they could do in those counties. Those are the best candidates they could come up with. Just, sit on that. Okay, let's talk about the Bayonetta thing real quick. Basically, in case you missed it, there was a story that came out. What Jacob wrote is that the original Bayonetta voice actor was only offered $4,000 to work on the entire game. Understandably, she said no, because that's insane. That probably comes out realistically for how much acting is in the game to like $120 an hour, maybe like probably even less than that if we're being completely honest. So she's asking fans to boycott the game, to donate the money to a charity that they would want to throw at her. Because the simple point of the matter is that $4,000 to voice an entire game is utterly ridiculous. And I've mentioned this before. $4,000 is reasonably what we could probably charge for ad reads in like our big critiques. So like when I do the big God of War critique for God of War Ragnarok, full transparency, I probably will be shooting for like between $4,000 and $10,000 for sponsorships in that video to be like the sponsor or be like the brand with multiple ad breaks and stuff. So like, I'm not a multi-million-dollar company or video game franchise, and I could charge more than this for reasonably like a few hours of my voice. And sure, there's like editing and stuff, but in terms of my delivery of the vocals and stuff, it's a few hours of content. And in terms of the like promotion for the sponsor, it's like a total of 5 to 10 minutes of recording. And that's how much they'd be willing to pay me. So the fact that they're only offering $4,000 for a voice actress who would be spending weeks working on this is utterly insane. Like, I do not understand that. I don't get it. Like, it really makes me wonder if we're missing something, but the more we've heard from this, the more it's been confirmed. Like, this is all they were willing to pay for it, which is just ridiculous. It's insane. I feel like we're missing a piece of the puzzle because nothing could possibly be this ridiculous. But every time more information comes out, it just gets reaffirmed that no, this is it. Like, they actually did only offer 4K. And yeah, I'm glad she's talking out and bringing it up, because one of the things you have to remember, people were like, I call BS on this because the like Screen Actors Guild, the SAG group that a lot of these actors and actresses are members of, they require like a minimum of, I forget how much, like $150 an hour, or like it's, I think for film productions it's like $1,200 a day. It's something like that. I did a play with a guy named Jonathan Farwell, who was in a couple episodes of Star Trek, and he was a very successful actor, did a ton of commercials and stuff, and he was a member of the like SAG-AFTRA and everything. And to do a play, they had to pay him the equivalent of like, I think $300 per hour of rehearsal time. Like, he was extremely expensive. He ended up donating all the money back because it was like a small nonprofit theater. But he did that because he just really wanted to do the show. But that's how much they had to pay him up front in order to get him allowed to work on it, because he signed all the paperwork saying he can't perform unless he meets that standard. And with this stuff, the reason people were like, I call BS on this because that doesn't meet anywhere near the requirements for SAG-AFTRA. I think that's the point, is that's how ridiculously low this offer is, that a SAG-AFTRA actress or actor cannot accept this amount. It doesn't meet or fulfill the standards of their union contract, so they just don't do it. Which is why normally how this works is these companies have to work with the union to pay what the union demands, and then everybody in that union gets to then go and work for that company. So you get access to their talent pool once you agree to meet that standard of pay. And if you don't meet that standard of pay, then nobody in the union will work with you. The thing with voice acting, though, is that these studios feel like they can get away with that because it's just your voice. It's not that big of a deal. So they feel like they can get away with swapping this voice actress out for another one they hire on like Fiverr and pay $4,000 for all of this work. They're like, yeah, it's just the voice. Who cares? It's a little harder on like a motion capture, like facial animation capture thing. Like, I don't think you could just casually replace what's his name? Troy Baker as Joel. If they ever did another Last of Us game, I don't think you could casually replace him. But that's because Troy Baker is very, very unique. But a lot of these smaller studios, or kind of more slimy studios, will easily try to swap out performers, even between games and sequels and stuff, to avoid paying them more. Because a lot of people, let's be honest, won't notice that the voice actor or actress is different. Because it is easier to emulate somebody's voice than it is to emulate their voice and movements and facial expressions and acting chops and all of that. So it's just scummy. It's just scummy across the board. Yeah, and then the director for Bayonetta is acting like a child on Twitter. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of this didn't come directly on or from the director, which should be something that the director leans on. Like, hey, this isn't all me. This was mostly the producers and the finance guys that didn't allow us to pay them more. But then he gets on there and acts like nothing's wrong and that everybody's overreacting and it's not that big of a deal. It's just, it kind of shows sometimes you should just shut up. Hurry up and shut up, like they say. Because this is just an L take to defend something like this. Because realistically, I mean, again, guys, this is weeks and weeks of work. And the thing with actors and actresses, they don't work 24/7, 365. They work on a couple of projects a year if they can get cast in enough. And so you have to make you might think, well, $4,000 for a week or two of work is not bad. That's maybe one of the 5 to 10 projects she works on in the entire year. So she has to make more to be able to pay for the rest of the year. So it just doesn't work to be paid that little. So yeah, and Mob 100 is replacing the main voice actor too. Almost the same reasons. Yeah, exactly. And it's until people speak up, it's just going to keep happening. And until people boycott these shows and movies and stuff and games who replace the actors for no good reason, it's going to keep happening. I know they said I think it was a scandal thing with God of War 2018, because didn't they replace the original voice actor for Kratos with Christopher Judge? And that caused a lot of people to freak out. And there were some people, I remember seeing it on Twitter. Some people were like, I'm not playing God of War 2018. I'm not playing this reboot because they got rid of the original voice actor. And ended up they replaced him with a really solid performer who I think did a tremendous job. But, you know, that's kind of beside the point. So I think until people speak out and then start voting with their wallets, it's going to just keep happening. And especially nowadays with the AI stuff they can do, like a lot of these contracts people are signing, I would not be surprised if in the contract there are like specifications where they can reproduce your voice using these AI tools they have. So you sign away like the likeness to your voice so that they can use your voice and dynamically create it using AI to just replace you entirely. It's why it was weird that like Troy Baker supported that NFT voice thing where they were going to use AI to generate and save the voices of all voice actors and actresses out there so that you could just pay Troy Baker's AI version to record like voiceovers for your indie game. And it was weird because it was like, dude, that's replacing you. Like no one will need Troy Baker once they do that. It's like, what are you doing? So it was just weird. Murtaza, the Amaranth situation. Yeah, I don't have an article or anything. I don't like it. It just depresses me to no end to even like bring it up. The whole thing though is if you are caught in a situation like that, you tell somebody, speak out. People will help, but they can't help if you don't talk about it. I'm glad she's making it known. It sounds like she got a lawyer now and they are trying to remedy the situation and fix it. But it just goes to show you, if it can happen to an extremely wealthy and successful streamer like Amaranth, it can happen to anybody. So also for anybody who's not currently in this situation, go and keep an eye out, because sometimes even your friends or family, there could be something going on behind the scenes that you just don't see because it's very hidden and it's awkward to talk about. So just don't, keep an eye out. And if you're caught in one of these situations, get out there and let somebody know, even if it's in private, and they can start helping you. So I wish her the best. It sounds like the ball's rolling and stuff is happening. Okay. So let's touch on this big news. Everybody is super excited for this. Silent Hill, Konami revealed this page. Silent Hill, October 19th, 2022 at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So 3 p.m. my time. Wednesday. So I maybe what we'll do on Wednesday is we'll start the stream a little later so that we can be streaming when this goes up. I think we'll probably do that. So we can see what this is. I don't know. It's, again, I am very skeptical of this. Konami has not put out a good game in a decade plus. So I have zero faith that this is going to be solid. I would not get your hopes up. I think the odds are very high that this comes out and is like a hilarious grouping of like slot machines and a mobile game or two. Like, do not put it past Konami. Okay. So I would not get too excited. I would not hype this up too much. Yeah. Is there anything funny in the code? Sometimes they bury stuff like that. No, doesn't look like it. A bunch of other companies occasionally will bury like bloat code into the HTML and stuff of the page, and they hide little funny Easter eggs in there, but I don't see anything like that. But all told, I'm highly, highly skeptical. And so I'm willing to be surprised, but I'm going into this expecting like the worst possible thing, if I'm being entirely honest. Because especially like these guys, they don't exactly have a great track record recently, certainly. And I also personally have never really been a fan of the Silent Hill games. So I don't have any reason to be hyped over this, but I know a lot of people are hyped about it. We will see though. We're maintaining cautious optimism. For me, I'm like, it's cautiously skeptical. I'm not sold on this, and I'm very suspicious. Very, very suspicious. So that's happening Wednesday. We will keep an eye out for that. And then let's touch on this real quick. And this real quick. For those of you who missed it, we did get a Sonic Frontiers Combat and Upgrades reveal trailer. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I seriously do not understand Sonic. Like, I just don't get it. I've said it, like, I just don't get it. I get, some people love it. Some people are super hyped on this, you know, Sonic Chew, whatever it is, the Chris Chan thing. I get that desire. I get that interest. If you're really hyped on this particular thing, I might not get it. You can be into it. That's cool. I just don't understand this.
A homing attack, drop dash, and stomp at the beginning of the game. While these moves are effective against normal enemies, you'll need to level up and unlock new skills if you want to take on bigger and stronger foes awaiting you on the Starfall Islands. A normal enemy on Kronos Island is nothing compared to those on later islands. So make sure you're collecting the red seeds of power and blue seeds of defense to boost your stats and give yourself a fighting chance.
Accept the seed. Let the seed into you. Just let it in. Let it in. For this, I also don't really understand what the game is supposed to be. Like, parts of it look like straight up like a mobile game. Other parts are like these wide open, like open world sections that you just sprint around in. But for me, like, one of the appeals of an open world is to be able to explore it carefully, kind of get lost in it. And it seems like if Sonic moves too quickly or extremely quickly, which is like his whole thing, then you don't put much detail in the minutia because you're just going to run past it. So everything just ends up like big, open, bland, like you kind of see on screen. And I just don't find that very appealing. Wild Rush. It's funny also, like, this font that they're using for everything is a font I used in my thumbnails for like 3-4 years. Funnily enough, it's called American Captain. And it's a very specific font that I recognize very clearly. But now every time I see it, it just makes it look like a YouTuber made it. You know, made the trailer. It's just funny to me. Yeah, I don't get it, man. No part of this looks good to me. I'm like, this looks like a weird, like, mobile game that's free to play. I just don't understand it. But then again, like, I've never gotten Sonic, so I don't know how you make a Sonic game like this good. Because I've just never gotten it. I just don't understand how you do this in a unique and good way. Oh, you could do like a Sonic reboot where it's like dark and gritty and it opens with Sonic watching his mother get like beheaded because she believes in a false or like a religion that the establishment doesn't agree with, and then you watch her get executed and it starts a revenge path, and then Sonic like goes through the game and then slowly develops like blood fetishism, and that could be interesting. I'd play that. Like, oh, that's different enough. It's weird that the pre-order gives you a bunch of extra power and upgrades and stuff for gameplay. That's not a great sign. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't get it. Did you just describe Skyrim? Kind of, actually. Accidentally. Kind of. Yeah, I swear to God, can you imagine if Wednesday they have hundreds of thousands of people like on the page checking out, refreshing, and then it loads up and it's just a pachinko machine. It's like available now for $10,000. Dude, people will riot. They will burn Konami to the ground. Okay, last story. Let's tackle this one. Some of you guys have been talking about Splinter Cell. People have been hyped up for Splinter Cell, wanting them to do something with the franchise for a while. And interesting little thing, the director of Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell remake has officially left Ubisoft, while it's still in development, which is never a good sign at all. And that's after 11 years with the company. Could be that he's retiring, but normally people retire after the end of their tenure, after the end of something that they're really proud of. To leave in the middle of development is strange. As reported by Video Games Chronicle, Dave Gravel announced on LinkedIn that he'd be moving on to a new adventure following more than a decade working at Ubisoft games like Assassin's Creed Unity, Far Cry 5, and most recently the Splinter Cell remake. It's unclear how his departure will affect the remake's development at Ubisoft Toronto, but he appears to be leaving on good terms, meaning that Ubisoft likely had plans for his replacement in place, though the new director is yet to be announced. It could be like stuff with this. I talked about this with Jor Raptor in our little collab that we did. With this, it's very common in game development for people to just bounce around studios. The people who bounce around studios tend to climb the ladder the fastest. So what this guy's probably doing, like if he left the game director position here, he's probably leaving for another studio that's letting him direct his own game with a lot more freedom, not just a remake. So usually this would be something like, oh, I work at Ubisoft and I'm like the long-term, or like recently Fallout 76's game director left. So like he worked on Fallout 76. He created that game, headed that up. Of course, it ran into a lot of issues, but he leaves for another studio, not because he hates his current company, but because he's moving somewhere else and they're going to let him be like creative designer on like a very unique or very artsy or dark and interesting title. Maybe it's like a, Lies of P, something like that, where you've always wanted to work on a game like that, and now they're letting you go and work on that if you just move to Germany and do that. But they'll pay for your moving expenses and they'll do all of it. It makes sense why you would leave and do that. So this type of thing is extremely common. Yeah, bouncers, basically. It's extremely common. It's weirder to have somebody leave in the middle of development, but it's also a remake. So it's not quite the same as him leaving like in the middle of a new IP's development or something like that. For me, it's not as big of a deal, but it does signal that whatever was going on wasn't interesting enough for him to stay and see it through. Make of that what you will. But that's what's happening. That's what's happening. Hope all's well, Luke. It is going well. Hello. 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 Thank you. It's going well. Hope all is well with you. Also, they said they want to make Splinter Cell remake for a modern audience, so another Saints Row reboot situation. Dear God, hopefully not. Can you imagine? It's like Splinter Cell, but instead of killing people, you assassinate them with hugs. And then you just go up there. It's like when Sarcastable in South Park. Sarcastable! It's like, oh yeah, what if instead of touchdowns, everybody just hugs each other? And instead of padded armor that they wear out on the field, why don't we just have everybody wear padded bras and tinfoil hats to protect them against the radiation in the sky? Really? Do you really want to do that? Do you want to be the coach of the new Sarcastable League? Oh yeah, I would love to be the head of the Sarcastable League. He ends up being the head of the league. Yeah, that would actually, I would probably play that if they just came out with Splinter Cell Sarcastable. That would be pretty funny. Your name's Anthony. Oh, okay. That works better for me. Anthony. I will try to remember Anthony. We have a lot of people in here. I will try to remember to just call you Anthony. Twitch, it was nice because I could just click on somebody's name and then give them a nickname. So if like I needed to spell it differently to be able to pronounce it or remember what their nickname was or whatever, it worked a lot easier that way. So maybe they add that feature in the future, but I will try. Call me Fish. Just an FYI. I will do that, Fish. Say my name. Bearded Ant, if you remember. Oh, yeah. That's the thing. We moved over to YouTube, and now everybody's usernames are either completely different or slightly different, and it throws me off. Hey, Luke, do you follow the international Dota 2? Not really. I've just never got. I tried like those types of MOBA games, and I've tried to get into them. I'm bad at them. I get called a noob the moment I enter the lobby, and I just don't really have fun with it. So I usually stay clear. Have you checked out the Cyber Psychosis mod in Cyberpunk 2077? Not yet. I thought of doing that, actually. I was going to try that. Let's see. Nobody ever pronounces my name correctly. Damn new generation and their lack of thesauruses. Yeah, well, the Thesaurus Rex. Because it kind of looks like the Saurus Rex, but Thesaurus Rex is funny. I like that. There's now a humanity meter that you have to keep an eye on as you install cyberware and do quests. I kind of like that. That's cool. It's kind of like the toxicity thing in The Witcher. That's interesting. That's interesting. I kind of like that. I hope like the CD Projekt Red guys are watching all of these mods and are like, oh, that could be interesting for a sequel. Like the flying cars is my biggest thing. Like they need, in my opinion, they need to do that. It's like, every time Bethesda comes out with a new Fallout game and, or like Skyrim and stuff, and there's no like clear and easy mounts and there's no ability to do some of these basic things. It's just weird. But imagine playing Cyberpunk 2077 when you could just play Fallout 76 instead. Oh yeah, can you imagine? Yeah, what are you wasting your time on? What headphones are these? These are the Sennheiser HD 600s. They work. I have the box here because I just got them. HD 600. Oh yeah, sexy. HD 600. They're very good. They're very good. I am a fan. One point of reference for these, though, you absolutely need a dedicated amplifier. You'll see here, I have this thing here. This is a dedicated headphone amp. Again, I'm a bit of an audiophile, so let me be very clear. No human being realistically needs this, but I use it. This is what it is. You can see it a little better here, but it's the Valhalla 2 from Sheet. Yes, that's their company name, but it's a dedicated headphone amp with 4 tube amps in it. It is an absolute monster, but it works very, very well. It also gets freakishly warm and hot. Like it's a little space heater. Like I put my hand over it, a solid few inches above it, and I can feel the heat just emanating from it. I just like swallowed my own throat. But it's pretty solid. It's pretty solid. But you need a good headphone amp to run something like this. If you plug these headphones straight into your PC, they'll play audio, but you'll get all sorts of artifacting, weird peaks and things. It's just, do yourself a favor, get a good headphone amp. You don't need to go this crazy. You can get one that's like, Sheet makes a like 100 and the Fula. They make this one. This is a great little amp that will do everything you need to do for like 99% of use cases. It's a little gaming amp. They also have the Magni. This thing is probably what I would recommend if you're getting these headphones. It's just a dedicated little amp. You see here, all it does is power these headphones, and it does a very, very good job of it. And it's just a solid little piece of hardware. But once you get used to listening to audio with stuff like this, you won't be able to go back because it really makes one hell of a difference. And as you upgrade, like these really nice headphone amps, with the tube amplifiers and stuff, that's when you're getting into like audiophile territory. Nobody needs this, but if you can hear the difference, you'll want it. I don't know why you would ever need something like this, but you can get it. I mean, just look at some of this stuff. It is cool. You can't see it through the camera, like through this angle. I can see it. The tubes are glowing, just like you see in this picture. When you turn it on, the tubes start and power up, and they start glowing like this. It's honestly pretty cool. But it's just interesting. It's fun. But be careful. Once you get into this stuff, you'll never get out.
Ortelios donated 10 euros through Super Chat.
Thank you, my friend.
Hey, Luke. I would be very interested on a critique series on the Dark Souls games. I don't know if it is even your type of game. The story is very deep, but you need to look for it. Take care.
Yes, thank you, Artilios. Thank you. Very generous, 10 pounds. Thank you. I am totally into it. I would be down. For me, it really just comes down to a matter of time and breaking it down as best I can. So I would be interested in it. And who knows, maybe when we hit a sort of dry spell in the spring, I'll tackle it. This past year it was Uncharted. Maybe we'll do Dark Souls as the
Stefan Konstantin Dimitrashe donated RON 25 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
2077 is the GTA 3 of Cyberpunk. The sequel will have flying everything everywhere, solid ceilings, drive-bys, etc.
I have a feeling you're right, because I think what they're seeing now is that there is a ton of interest in the franchise, and all people really want is a refined, polished version of what was sort of hinted at with 2077. So if they can just deliver on what people's expectations are, people will be all into it. They just have to deliver on those sort of original promises that they made. And I think they can manage it if they give it time and money. And you better believe they're like, one prerogative as a company right now is to never repeat the launch of 2077. I think like CD Projekt Red, they're a company that at least seems to acknowledge the issues and be like, we're gonna, like, this is wrong. Who knows, maybe they don't even know how it happened, but they're gonna work on fixing it. James, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate you. Thank you, my friend. That being said, I haven't forgiven them. I'm not gonna just blindly be like, oh, it's cool. It's cool. Yeah, go buy whatever they put out next. No. I am maintaining very skeptical, a very skeptical stance towards them. I'm not looking at them too forgivingly, because what they did with 2077 was borderline like criminal. It was horrible. Same with Bethesda. Like anything with Starfield, I'm not giving them any benefit of the doubt. Come on. But with this, like, I think they could. I think they could pull it off, and I think they're working their asses off for it. My fear with Starfield is that Bethesda, everything they're showing, like the frame rates were really inconsistent in the trailers they showed. Even Maddie was like, the gameplay, like the gunplay, also looks really rough, man. Like really rough. This is what you showed off. This is what you intentionally showed the public. That's worrisome. And so I am not convinced that Bethesda thought that 76 was like so horrible we need to do better. You noticed when that happened, like they didn't say anything. The extent of apology we got from Bethesda for Fallout 76 was Todd Howard coming out a year later at E3 2019, which I was at actually. And he came out and he said, I just want to say we got some very well-deserved criticism. We're like, is that all you have to say? Ortelios, thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate you. Thank you, my friend. We're popping off at the end of the stream. This is great. We're doing great. By the way, I've mentioned it before, guys. I think we're going to start doing a couple, like the occasional member only stream or video where I can just do, like, since we got rid of Patreon and now we're on YouTube anyways, it just kind of makes sense to have a like the membership on the live channel is where you go for like cool original content. I think that's the way to do it. But I think every game needs to be looked at with a microscope nowadays. Yeah, I just think at the end of the day, just don't buy the bullshit. Like, maintain skepticism. No company is perfect. Everybody has said, oh, come here, you bitch. Did I get it? No. I need to get my Bruce Lee skills under control, trying to grab little flies and stuff with my bare hands. But I think, like, the issue is that people are like, oh no, I'm very skeptical. I even, like, I bash every game that I come across. Thank you, Fish, becoming a member. Awesome. Thank you, my friend. We see this all the time. And then, like, they turn around and they're like, yeah, no, I don't trust anything coming from Warner Brothers. They did Shadow of War, Gotham Knights look sussy. I'm not going into that. Oh, did they just reveal a new trailer for the next, I I don't know what else they'd be interested in. Oh, the new Silent Hills thing. Yeah, no, I'm super hyped for that new Silent Hill thing. I took off work on Wednesday to watch that reveal. It's like, no, chill out. Or I pre-ordered Hogwarts Legacy because I love Harry Potter, but you know what? Yeah, Gotham Knights looks really sus. I'm like, yeah, I don't think you're applying that evenly. I think you're being a little loose with your skepticism. Either it applies to everything or it doesn't. It's pretty simple. Ugh. I unliked just to like it again. You know what it counts. You remember one day there was that glitch on YouTube somebody discovered where if you unsubscribed and resubscribed, it wouldn't count the new sub. So you could technically like just unsub and resub. It wouldn't change your inbox, but it would drive the sub count down. And you could like, I think you could keep doing that sub, unsub, sub, unsub, sub, unsub, and it would just keep ticking it down every time, removing a sub when you unsubbed, but not adding it back when you did sub. So like there were some YouTubers who lost, like big YouTubers with millions of subs that lost hundreds of thousands of subscribers in one day once it started going around Twitter, because people were like, oh, I want to test it. I want to try it. And then the sub count just plummeted and YouTubers were freaking out. They're like, am I being canceled? What happened? And then it turned out it was just like a glitch. YouTube fixed it. It was problem solved. But I remember that people were freaking out. I had such a small channel at the time. I was like, oh no, I went from like 600 viewer or subs to 30. I didn't get them again. Damn it. I want to get the collector's edition of God of War, but I also want the disc. Yeah, to get all of that, you basically have to buy the game twice. Yeah, I got to get the physical copy. And honestly, like, I wouldn't be surprised if we get the, it's like the Fallout 76 thing. You get the physical edition, and then it ends up that it's just like another digital code, you know, after all of that. This is like an audiophile's dream right here. Look at this. Tube amps, powering, dedicated. What kind of speakers are those? They look super familiar. They might be Bowers and Wilkins because they kind of have this. No, because they don't have the continuum finish on the driver. I don't know what these are. But these like dedicated amps, a dedicated EQ. So like the music that goes into this, you can EQ it yourself before it passes up to the amp, to the speakers, or to your headphones, whatever else. This is pretty. But this is why you got to be careful getting into high quality sound, because high quality sound is stupid expensive. The good thing is like the hardware never goes bad, but it's very expensive. Like this thing, you buy it for $2,200, you can probably resell it for $2,000 5 years later. Like they retain their value very, very well. But yeah, this is not a Spotify music machine. Like to suggest to an audiophile, like just listen on Spotify. You'll get slapped. Let's see. The only collector's edition I'm bummed I didn't buy on time was The Witcher 3. I don't even have an Xbox, but it was the most complete collector's edition for the game. Yeah. You can still find them. Like after the dust has settled a few years later, you can find them relatively cheap because somebody bought it as like a buy and hold collector's item. And then eventually they get married and their wife is like, why is all this shit in the closet? You need to sell it. And so he lists on eBay and nobody buys it because nobody's looking up that game anymore. So he puts it deeper and deeper in sale. And eventually you'll get the collector's edition like for the exact same price you would have bought it or less. So you just got to be patient and eventually you'll find it. It happens all the time. Like that Order 1886 collector's edition I have. I don't know what the guy did with it. It was luck of the draw, to be honest. But like that thing, I looked at it 6 months before and people were asking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars for it. And then I swept in and got this thing for like $100. Like, so you'll find it eventually. You just got to keep an eye out. Nikki wants to sell your things. No, she gets that it's like, it's a studio display thing. I do have a lot of crap, to be fair. I have a lot of random garbage. Can I use those to listen to fart reverbs for 5 hours at the highest quality? Yeah. The quality will make you cry. Does anyone else find the prolonged gap in output from Rockstar frustrating? For sure, we want quality they deliver, and I know GTA Online does too well to wait for new stuff. Is killer. Yeah, I think it's just weirdly, like, I think a lot of us expected as tech got better, game development times would drop because it would be like, oh, you're so efficient now because like it's easier than ever to create game maps and to dynamically do this stuff and have procedural generation handle all these things. I'm going to get this damn fly. Damn it. Anyway, we thought that that was what was going to happen. But what happened instead was as technology grew, the quality demanded from consumers rose by a lot. So now it takes a lot longer to develop games to meet the standard of quality that people expect. And that's an issue because it just turned into this thing where the quality demanded is so high that it takes years and years and years and years to generate these games at the end of the day. It's just extremely difficult to do. And especially like Rockstar is known for having some of the highest production values in the industry, full stop, if not the highest production values in the industry, full stop. And as a result, it just takes longer and it's more expensive than ever. And it's not like Ubisoft will develop a new Assassin's Creed game that's massive with 100 hours of content. They'll do it in like 3-4 years with thousands of people working on it. Rockstar will do the same thing with thousands of developers working on GTA 6, but that's the one thing they're working on for like 5 to 6 years, which is why Red Dead is so, miles ahead of every other Western game that's come out, or GTA 5. Even a decade later, as tech has improved, no game has really come close to replicating the scale and quality of GTA 5. Like, it's kind of insane. You would think after 10 years, another studio would have come along and been like, we're going to basically make GTA 6. Or like, the Fallout New Vegas to Fallout 3. We're going to come in and do it just a little bit better. Nobody's done it. Not even close. That's because Rockstar is that good. But it just takes a freakish amount of time. Takes a freakish amount of time. But that's just, it's the nature of things. Let's see. Please buy Erendite from Karamor Forge and put it on display. Since it's your best game of all time, it is fitting to have a replica of the best sword in the game. I would be interested in that. I'm not opposed to that. I love me some collector's swag. Get another sword, and, another item. I'd be down. Junkari, wonder if investors at Rockstar think if it's even worth creating new games because the profitable solution is to keep GTA alive. Yeah, I think to some extent, I think it's just because it takes so long to make these damn games. New IP are such an inordinate risk. Like that spy game that they were working on, allegedly, it was called like Agent or something. They trademarked the game. They were working on stuff, and it just disappeared. It never came out because for them to send the whole team to work on that would mean that the next Grand Theft Auto doesn't come out for, instead of just 10 years, like 15 to 20 years. And that's an insanely long time. So they'd rather just not take that risk. This is a sneaky little bugger. I'll give you that. He's resourceful. But that means it's also why we didn't get Bully. Because like Bully, I'm sure would sell well. Will it sell Grand Theft Auto 6 well? No. Will it sell Red Dead Redemption 3 well? No. So at that point, it's going to be the death of me. At that point, it just doesn't really make sense. And, we can be like, oh, they should just hire more teams. But like Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to take probably $1 billion to make. Like, it is a stupid expensive thing to do. And so you can't just create a bunch of new teams and have $2 billion games in production. It doesn't work like that. Like, it just doesn't. We can say like, oh, just figure it out. It doesn't. Like, the money has to come from somewhere. And even with the amazing success of Grand Theft Auto Online, it still is ridiculously expensive to do some of this stuff. And you can't just magically make it happen. So I agree. I think it's just tricky. Rayman, hey Luke, I just watched your Playtale video out of curiosity. Did you play it on PS5? And if so, were there performance issues or was it stable? I played on PC and it was very stable. Like I said, the 2 issues I showed in the video were the only 2 I encountered in the entire game. And I was told that all the little bugs are all going to be gone on launch day. They have a pretty comprehensive patching team working on it now. And they're also introducing ray tracing, which is something I failed to mention in the review, but ray tracing will be there day 1. It's just not there for the review copies. So that will also be there. I don't know if ray tracing will be enabled on current gen consoles though. But thank you for watching the video. Appreciate you. Oh, you son of a bitch. Oh, he got away. Ooh, my Steam Deck dock arrived. Oh no. Lockie, little baby Lachlan, he tripped and scraped up his nose pretty bad. And it's been healing really, really well. But Nikki just texted me and said that Locke scratched the scab off his nose, which probably means that, like, he had an itch, and so he like scratched it, and then the scab came off, and it probably bled. And oh, poor guy. Luke, I have studio headphones. What if and Spotify isn't going to cut it? What should I use? The one I personally recommend that I really like, and then with this, I think we'll probably be good. The one I really like, and that I can recommend because it has a pretty phenomenal collection and it has master quality stuff, is called Tidal. Tidal is great because it allows you to have the large collection, but also you can see in terms of quality, they have a lot more options. So normal AAC quality, 160 kilobits per second, that is in line with probably what you're getting on Spotify 99% of the time. Hi-Fi, lossless quality at 1411 kilobits per second. You see just the difference. 160 is your typical streamed music. Hi-Fi is 1411. And then master quality is 2304 by 9216. Like, authenticated and unbroken with the highest possible resolution, as flawless as it sounded in the mastering suite and precisely as the artist intended. It's ridiculous. And this is literally, I mean, this is the best visualization you can get. When we talk about resolution of audio, this is what it means. Like, these are the number of peaks generated to create the sound. Whereas when you go higher fidelity, there's a lot higher resolution to the sound waves. So you can have a lot more information basically packed in there. And as a result, like, you'll start to hear things that you didn't hear before. You can hear every whisper, every breath. Sometimes you can even hear, like, I remember I listened to a master quality version of a song by, what's his name? I can't remember his name, but he's a musician. He has a beard, and you could hear at one point he was like singing, and you could hear him like kind of brushes his beard as he's like singing. He's like grooving, and then he touched his beard, and you can hear the gentle sound of the beard hair being touched. Stuff like that. You pick up on all of this, and it really is like being there. And if you're gonna listen to high fidelity audio, or if you want to start dipping your toes in the water, this is where you should go. Tidal works very similarly to Spotify. It just works really, really well. And if we go pricing and plans, you see like they can break it down. So you can do free and you get the good sound quality. It's supported by ads though. Hi-Fi, which is going to be better than like what Spotify can provide. And it's good for probably 95% of people who want to get into good quality audio. And then Hi-Fi Plus, which just is insane. Like it's just tremendous. You can download all of your audio, direct artist payouts. So up to 10% of your subscription fee is directed towards the artists you listen to the most. So if you're like a huge fan of Sam Smith, all of your money, or not all of your money, like up to 10% of that subscription revenue will just go to him or them. I I don't remember if he swapped back, but I think it's them. Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying my best, but I don't keep up to date with like celebrity news, so forgive me. But Hi-Fi Plus is tremendous. I definitely recommend that. And then they have a bunch of discounts. So like students, 50% off, military, 40% off, for first responders, all of this stuff. Like they really do help out if you do that. So recommend that. Not to sound like a salesman, but Caramore and Forge has customization on your ordered swords, like runes, rune words, etching, etc. I'm just a massive fan of the game. Let me look this up. Hold on. Caramore and Forge. Huh. I mean, these are pretty gorgeous. Oh, you can get that one too. That's pretty good. Ooh. Yeah, go ahead and translate to English. Geralt of Rivia's silver sword. These are pretty freaking cool. Okay, how much is like Geralt of Rivia's sword? It looks very, very well done. Can you not? Commissions. Master level, let's see, a store with ready-made swords. Each and every one you've seen in my gallery is made to order according to the customer's wishes. Price depends on many factors, how complicated the sword is, what materials were used and accessories, the scabbard, runes, etc. I decided to split the swords according to the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt sword tiers. It's in symbol terms, 4 levels. Okay. So the top one is 1,100 euros. Alexa, how much is 1,100 euros in US dollars?
1,100 euros is about 1,069 US dollars and 9 cents.
1,069. You gotta love that the dollar is doing well right now. Used to be, okay, it's 1,100 euros, so oh god. No, I'm thinking more of pounds, but like, you know, the pounds used to be like, oh, so it's 1,000 pounds. Okay, so it's gonna be like $6,000. Not really, but you know, you get what I mean. Downloading Plague Tale Innocence right now because of how highly you and Mr. Maddie spoke about Requiem. Appreciate the video, my guy. Awesome. I think you'll really like it. Super detective. And I tell you, without a joke, no cap, straight bussin'. If you blast through Innocence, go in and play Requiem right after. Just lead right into it. They flow really nicely. And that story is going to send you, yeah, like crying onto the floor. I kid you not. It's so good. Yeah, PSA, it's not sponsored by them. Yeah. Workshop. Caramore and Ford. This is just kind of a cool thing. Straight bussin'. Yeah, straight bussin'. No cap. Finna be bussin'. What's another one? My name is Dees. My name is Dees. Dees Nuts. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty freaking cool. I could totally see doing something like this. The great thing about having a studio space that these display items go up in is that the great thing about having a space where these swords are displayed in is that technically speaking, it can be classified as a studio expense for decoration. So as long, like, if it gets mounted here and it's in the background of videos, it's an expense for the studio to customize it. In the same way that, like, if I spend money to upgrade the lighting equipment, it's part of the business expense of operating this, or upgrade my cameras or microphones and things. So it's part of the business, right? And so something like that, it doesn't make something like that free, of course. It's still probably with shipping a $1,200 item, but it's discounted at my corporate tax rate, which is often like 27% or 21%, whatever it is now, which effectively discounts it at that price, because otherwise I'd be paying that in taxes. So instead of being $1,200 in terms of real cost to me, it's like $960. It's still stupid expensive, but that can help ease it over a little bit. It's one of those little things you got to keep an eye out for. Did you already play through Requiem? Yeah, no, I played through the whole thing. A good chunk of New Game Plus. I tried to get it working on Steam Deck. It doesn't seem to work on Steam Deck, unfortunately, at least not right now. But yeah, I played through all of Requiem. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. But if you have not played the first game, play the first game. I kind of wish I had played through the first game recently to just lead right into Requiem, because in the first few hours, they reference the events of the first game a lot. So if you haven't played them, go play the first game and lead right into it. First game's only like 8 hours. The second game is like a solid 20 hours. So just buckle up. But it's really, really good. Oh, how I wish they'd also taught these things in school. Yeah, I kind of wish too. I just pulled up my Twitter. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Look at this. Oh, that's pretty funny. Michael just sent in chat. Michael was like, dude, check your Twitter feed. So I just pulled it up. It's a cute little meow meow. It's a meow meow. That's super cute. Trying to watch your stream, but the cute little kitty is prioritizing things a little differently. Dude, I love cats so much. I love them. Are you looking forward to IO Interactive's Bond game? Oh hell yeah. Oh hell yeah. No, I will. I've been enjoying, like, I go back into Hitman 3 every once in a while. It works really well with the cloud streaming, which I also got working on the Steam Deck. So you can just like use xCloud to play these games instantly. It's pretty great. I know it's like total, like the Steam Deck is total overkill for streaming a game like that. You can do it on your phone just fine. But I keep getting random emails because I'm like, oh, did they finally send the review code? I don't think at this point I'm getting a review code for God of War. If I was going to, I think I would have gotten it in the first batch. Sometimes they troll me and they send it to me a little later after the fact, after everybody else has gotten it. But at this point, I think they would have sent it already, and I haven't seen anything. I'm even checking my spam folder, and I don't have anything. I think what I did is I screwed up, and in the email thing requesting the review code, I put my personal business email, and that's not the one I was using when I got the review codes for like Uncharted and those games, which is an oopsie. But what are you gonna do? Too late. Too late to fix it now. We'll just have to play through it on stream. Big bummer, right? Oh no, we get to play the game together. Shucks. Did I get a Gotham Knights review code? I filled out all the paperwork. As of right now, I do not have a review code for it. Wouldn't surprise me, because right around the time I filled that out, one of my most recent uploads was Gotham Knights looks cringe. So I would understand if they decided not to send me one. But what are you going to do? Next game review. We are working on a big critique for God of War 2018 to lead into the sequel. Hopefully I get that in time for the next game. And then as for other games, I want to review Gotham Knights and of course God of War Ragnarok. So we'll be playing through those pretty much immediately after. Omar, we did go through the Gotham Knights 30 FPS thing, so I won't rehash it too much. But if you go back in the stream, you can see that, or like wait a few days and it'll go up as a stream highlight. But don't worry, we did touch on it. More Dead Space content when we have the chance. We're headed into a kind of crazy month or so where things are just going to get really hectic. We knew this was coming, but it's a good problem to have, because leading into the spring, like in the spring, everything will dry up and there will be almost nothing to talk about, except in February there will probably be a lot. But for now, like it's just a little crazy. But December and January we'll be able to get back into the other swing of things. Are we getting the Plague Tale critique as well besides the review? Yeah. So Friday we'll be doing that. The only reason I wouldn't do it potentially Friday is if Gotham Knights comes out and sends the review code for me to do the reaction on Friday. But at this point, I don't think I'm getting it, if I'm being real. Favorite flavor of saltwater taffy? I like the fruity ones like raspberry or strawberry. That's a good one. Or blue raspberry if they have it, even though blue raspberry is not really a thing. Cyberpunk expansion, hell yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. Also, the Witcher 3 current gen, I guess now, refresh whenever they send that patch out. How do your methods differ between review and critique? I mean, I can like potentially oops, wrong tab. Like I can show you this. Like this is an outline, for example, for a bunch of things I want to touch on for the Plague Tale critique. And a bunch of this stuff, you know, these are all time-stamped things that I reached in my playthrough, and then the little script for the video that went up today. But there's a ton of stuff that I want to talk about for the critique that I just felt like I couldn't reasonably touch on without spoiling a ton of stuff. But like, if you look at this is my collection of clips for all of Plague Tale Requiem. So like this is the entire playthrough beginning to end. And the critique or the review that went up today pretty much just used clips from this. So there's all of this footage, well over half the game, that I basically couldn't show and couldn't talk about because it would probably spoil things. So with the critique, I feel more empowered. Like if you're going to click on that, I can give a spoiler warning up front. Hey, I'm going to show some stuff that will probably classify as spoilers. Some of the coolest set pieces and things. Buckle up. Here we go. And then I can just show it, do whatever, and it's fine. So that's one of the big perks of this is that I can do the critique while also having the review out for people who might want to play the game themselves, and the critique goes up later and then we can give it a fair shot then. But I will say, like, okay, if you want to go into Plague Tale completely blind, that's totally okay. Just don't look at the screen for a second, because I want to show. No, this is the wrong clip. I think it was 3. This is from early in the end. This is like the first 5 hours or so. Let me go back 10 seconds. This is pretty early in the game, but this is one of those cool, oh shit moments. Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay. You ready? Yeah, the reason I have a dedicated NAS down there behind me and I subscribe to like Dropbox cloud storage, all that, is because making these critiques and videos takes a ton of storage. But like, look at this. This is, again, early in the game, so don't think that this is like totally spoilerific, but if you don't want to see anything like this, I don't blame you. But just look how cool this is. Okay. We're running away from rats, by the way.
I can do it. No.
They managed to do this so fluidly, it's ridiculous. Like, they talked about hundreds of thousands of rats on screen. It looks like millions to me. Yeah, you dead, lady. And then look, they go on the blanket. Oh. Yeah, Twitter users be like, yeah, for real. Like, when people say, oh, Plague Tale played it safe, or Plague Tale didn't take enough, like, it wasn't as impressive as I was hoping it would be. Like, these sequences easily go head-to-head with anything done in, like, Uncharted 2 or 3. I think in some cases it's more impressive than what they did there. And this is not a big studio either. And it's just crazy well done. So, I think if you are a fan of these types of narrative games that have high production values, big set pieces, crazy cool cinematic moments, this is a game for you, for real. When female streamers drop in OnlyFans links and brats, yeah. Wasn't it? I think it was Markiplier the other day. Markiplier was like, I will open an OnlyFans if like my viewers agree to follow certain terms or something. It was basically, I think it was like, you can't put my face on like hardcore stuff and things like that. I don't know. Luke, you should buy an Intel GPU as a media encoder for AV1. It will reduce your file size by a fuck ton without any loss in quality. Oh, interesting. I will look into that, because one of the few reasons I stick with NVIDIA specifically is because they have CUDA cores, which works really well with my media encoding stuff. But if like Streamlabs especially introduces support for, well, Streamlabs and OBS, if they introduce support for the Intel stuff, then I would be very interested in that. That could be really intriguing. The 40 series cards also have AV1. I'm interested. Jean-Marco, you're always so well spoken in your reviews. Appreciate that. Any suggestions for those wanting to improve their vocabulary? I would say, like, I don't know. For one, I think be a little more precise with how you construct sentences and how you think about things. A lot of the time people just talk without thinking things through before they begin speaking, and it causes issues because they just rely on certain words that they reuse and reuse and reuse. And I catch myself in that trap all the time. Like I might say in a critique, this game is utterly tremendous, and then you'll find that I say tremendous like 5 times in the critique. And that's just an artifact of me not going through the script enough times and polishing it out. But it is something that everybody does. And you got to recognize like certain things that everybody does, like filler words. You might say like a lot. And I like went to the store and I immediately realized like the store is not where I thought it was. So I like went around the back of the store and I found that there was another entrance. And then I was like, oh, I really want a coffee. So I went over there and I was like, hey, can I get like a pumpkin spice latte? And so like they start throwing in like as the filler word, which is really just partially it's an artifact of their dialect and how they talk, but it's also an artifact of their thought process, kind of needing a little more time to process things and figure out what they want to say. Same thing with like ums and uhs and that type of thing. It's just a stammer that buys time for your brain to catch up to your mouth. And everybody does it. But I would say if you can actively try to remove those ums and ahs and stammers, you will come off as much more articulate than perhaps you are otherwise. And it's something everybody has to do. I do it all the time. I go, you'll notice like when I'm passively looking through stories, I'll go, what's next? Like everybody does it. Everybody does it. I just did like everybody does it. Everybody does these things. It's an active effort and you'll never be perfect at it. But if you make that active effort, you will find yourself coming off much more articulately, and you'll also feel far more intelligent when you have conversations because you're thinking through the things you're saying before you say them. And it's amazing that in and of itself is like a strategy that people need to enact. But thinking through things is not a super common thing that people do before they start talking. Even now I'm going it's not the worst thing ever to do it and to stammer every once in a while. It's okay. It's when it becomes the staple of your speech. Like we had a theater professor, for example, who was well known for being sort of slow in his speech. And he was a very sweet guy, but he was one of those people that you'd ask him a question. Mr. Peter, where would you like us to go for dinner? Something simple. And he would go, well, I was thinking about options, and the best option, I think, the more I think about it, it was just his way of buying time while he thought about his answer, instead of just going, it's a good question. Let's go to that Indian restaurant, Taj Mahal. Just that. It seems much more precise and intentional. Like, oh, you really thought about that. Okay. But he just filled it with and blabber words that he didn't need to fill it with when he could have just paused and given an answer, little stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. Specifically, like all of these things you have to do in your day to day in order for it to have a natural impact on your writing and everything else. When you write a text message to somebody, be that guy who correctly punctuates your sentences. That's okay. You know, not everybody needs to be, you know, using the short words and everything's undercase. You know, take a little pride in how you message people, and, you know, spend the extra half a second to put the period on it or put the comma in there. It will help you just become more aware of how you're phrasing things and talking. But it's an active effort. Nobody talks like, nobody speaks eloquently without working on it actively. It's a constant fight. See, are you playing and reviewing Plague Tale Requiem? Just did a review, my friend. It's up on the main channel. It's up on the main channel. Went up at noon, right as the embargo lifted. So go check that out. Long story short, I think it's tremendous, and I think the game is fantastic. I'm glad I'm skipping Gotham Knights because 30 FPS on current gen consoles is just lame AF. Yeah, and the rest of it looks kind of bland. I don't blame anybody for not wanting to play it because it looks bland, but if you're like dismissing the game because of just being 30 FPS, I think you're knocking yourself out of a lot of other potential really good games. Like I said earlier when we talked about it, Red Dead Redemption 2 launched at 30 frames a second. Is that game lame just because of that? No. Even on current gen consoles, it still runs at 30 frames, but it's still an amazing game, you know? So I would say, like, if you're going to diss Gotham Knights, I would personally suggest not to diss it based on the frame rate. There's a lot of other stuff to diss, you know? Don't make it too easy on them. It's 87 degrees in here. It's freaking hot. It's freaking hot. Yeah, Red Dead 2 is 30 frames. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, the Bayonetta 3 boycott call. I wasn't going to play it anyway, so done. Let's see. Also, can I get back to the music talk? I am just confused. Will I benefit with my headphones? I can send the link if you want. Sure, yeah. No, send the link real quick. Or whatever the model number is or whatever. One of the things you'll have to do with the audio is you'll have to go into like your speaker settings. So like, where is it? Sound control panel, I think. Yeah. So here, like in your sound control panel, you'll actually have to go to wherever the audio is being sent out of, and under properties, you've got to make sure you're supporting the higher resolution sample rates and stuff, because by default, it might be capped out at 48. You know, you never know. But this is just one of those things you have to check, and you have to make sure that this is all supported throughout everything else. It's just a whole thing. Narrative RPG recommendations outside Plague Tale. Of course, like the mainstays, like The Witcher, of course, are a go-to. Plague Tale's been the really surprising one that kind of came out of nowhere as a new like franchise that's just really, really good. Are there any other really good ones that are like little known? Guardians of the Galaxy. That one is great too. If you haven't played Guardians of the Galaxy, it's on Game Pass now as well. And Mafia Definitive Edition. It's not really an RPG, but it's also very, very good. Very, very good. Let's see. This one, the Rocky's using. I would say I could look into it a little more. My knee-jerk reaction, though, is if it communicates through wireless, then you probably won't benefit from something like Tidal, from the better music services, because Bluetooth can only, and like 2.4 gigahertz can only communicate so much data to your headphones. So you're sacrificing the convenience of wireless for the quality offered by wired. So I would say I could look into this more. It might be capable of receiving higher fidelity signals, in which case you could do it. But whenever I see like wireless in the title, the potential is that it's not capable of receiving signals high enough like to see the quality that you would see in like the title mastered track version. As for other things, it's also these can be wired, they're 38 ohms, so you wouldn't need a dedicated amp like this Valhalla 2. These headphones are like 300 ohms impedance, so these things need a ton of juice. Or these might be 250. They're 250 or 300, but not everybody needs a dedicated headphone amp like that. You need a dedicated headphone amp for that, specifically when they're considered like, they're going to be wired, of course, and they're going to be pretty beefy because they just need a lot of juice flowing to them. But with these, I would say you probably just go into Spotify settings and crank the quality there. And I think you will get, you know, a quality that's high enough, probably maxing out what those headphones can do. Let's see. Speaking of Bayonetta 3, what's your take on the situation? Don't know if you spoke it already. I did speak on it, Stefan. I you know what, I probably won't go back into it just because I think I'd rehash a ton of stuff. So if you want to go back in the stream and hear the breakdown of it, you can do that. Long story short, it's just insane to offer $4,000 for that. A job like that should be tens upon tens of thousands of dollars, probably more like $50,000 to $100,000 for that work. So it's insane that they're trying to get away with $4,000. But I'm glad it's a standard that, or it's a talking point. People are getting into it and talking about it because more and more studios are trying to get away with this type of thing. It also uses a wired connection. Yeah, I'd have to see what the thing is. If it's only 38 ohm impedance headphones, then my guess would be that it's primarily designed to be played directly out of your PC's 3.5 millimeter jack, which isn't necessarily a problem. But like, again, when we're talking about like paying an extra 10, 20 bucks a month for premium audio files, I don't think you would get the benefit of that increased expense with those particular headphones, which is okay. You're saving money. You don't need to spend the money. Because like one of these things, if you're going to spend the money for really nice headphones, a dedicated headphone amp, and the nice cables and everything along the whole chain, you're also going to need to pay for a higher quality signal. And that's why it's a expensive thing to get into. Once you're in it, you can't really get out of it because you're stuck and you're like, everything sounds like crap. But like if you, with those particular headphones, I would say enjoy like premium Spotify quality, you know, the excellent quality. If you go in the settings, you can change it to that. That's probably maxed out with what those headphones can deliver wired and wirelessly, which is still very, very good. Like, it's totally fine. What's a great pair of gaming headphones? What do you use? I use the Astro A50s. Until I broke them just now. I used these for years, and they were great. But they started to go out, peaking in the left cup. Weird stuff like that. Just really strange performance issues. So I used those for a long time, and they worked great until they went out on me. So then when I upgraded just like last week, I decided to go to wired Sennheiser 600s and the HD 600s, and they're tremendous headphones. They're open backed, so you'll see like if I line up with the light, you can see through that driver on my left ear. You can see that through the light. That's because the speaker driver isn't closed off, so the sound will echo into the room. So there's room noise. The benefit for gaming, though, with open-backed headphones is that the sound stage is extremely wide. So, like, I was playing a horror game, and there was a knock on the door. And coincidentally, the knock on the door in the game was coming from behind me and to the right. I have a door behind me to the right. It sounded so realistic through these headphones, and it sounded like it was 10 feet behind me to the right, that I actually paused the game and turned. Yes? And just sat here like a moron. But that's the benefit of open-backed headphones, is that they sound very, very present. The downside is that there's no built-in microphone. For me, it's not a big deal because I have a dedicated microphone separately, but that is one thing to remember. Very rarely do these really nice headphones have microphones built in. Can you show how to enable higher sound quality in Windows again? Yeah, if you go, voila, right click on your sound settings, go to sound control panel. It's behind my face. Sound control panel. It'll pull up this little thing This little piggy went to market. And then if you go down here and find your default audio device, which is probably your headphones or whatever jack is being used for the headphones, and you go to properties, then you can see I'm using the rear panel optical jack to send this signal out. If you go over to advanced, you can tweak a bunch of stuff. So supported formats, for one, you need to check what your headphones are capable of handling. If they're capable of handling up to like 192 kilohertz, great, enable that. I highly doubt it. I've never personally seen a pair of headphones that supports that. And I've messed with some very expensive headphones. So you're going to select whatever your particular headphone is capable of delivering in terms of sample rate, and then usually turn off all of this, because it's just, if you know a specific format it's capable of receiving, you can enable it, but a lot of the time it just causes more issues than not. And then if you go to advanced, you can go to default format and you will see all of these options. So most people by default, it's going to be down at 2-channel 16-bit 48,000 hertz, 48 kilohertz. That's the standard. That's what you're going to get through most like Bluetooth headphones and stuff. Still good quality. There's no like major issue with it. But just check that out. And then if you're able to tweak it up here, again, you got to check what your specific hardware is capable of doing. Nicer hardware will be able to go further and further along this list. So it's one of those benefits. And for the love of God, turn off signal enhancements. Anytime Windows tries to do anything with like spatial sound and this stuff, it just makes it worse. So just turn it off. It doesn't work. So turn it off. Not a PC guy. Any controller recommendations? I would say I freaking love my Elite 2. My Elite Series 2, whatever the hell this is called. I really, really love this controller. Big fan. And then for PlayStation, I've tried using Scuffs. I've tried using nice PlayStation controllers. Nothing compares to the DualSense 2. I just use that. Like, I don't see any reason to use anything else. So that's what I do. Any controller that has audio pass-through to connect to your headphones. Yeah, if you're using like a 3.5 millimeter headphone that has that jack, you could plug it into the DualSense or one of those controllers, or the Elite 2, Elite Series 2. They can do it, but again, they have to be low impedance headphones. These headphones would not work if I tried to plug them into the Xbox controller or the PlayStation controller. Those things don't have anywhere near enough juice to power these things. So again, it's one of the benefits, or one of the things about it. Like, once you invest in the higher end hardware, you lose a lot of the convenience of being able to do stuff like plug them into your headphones or into your controller. You can't do that anymore, because you're sacrificing that convenience for the quality that you get from this other stuff, which is why it's all a trade-off, and why you're not necessarily wrong if you look at all of these options and you're like, you know what, I don't really hear that much of a benefit with the high resolution audio and stuff like that. So I'm just going to stick with the convenience of wired or wireless headphones. That's totally fine. And I don't think you're wrong for doing that. I think, like, I've considered going back to the wireless thing, getting a new pair of Astro A50s, just because they work really well. Wireless is nice, but I also really, really like the fidelity that the wired headphones give me. So it's all just a sacrifice. Or you sacrifice being able to spin in your chair. Exactly. Exactly. Is the mic on the Astro headset decent? Surprisingly, I'm like 99% sure that it's the same mic that Nick Merckx uses in all of his videos. Let me pull it up real quick. Hold on. Nick Merckx.
Ski mask.
It's like this. This is Nick Merckx, and he's using these Astro A50s, and he's using the microphone. This looks like a slightly older version of the headset, but you'll hear it. It sounds really good.
The Slump God? Is that his rapper name?
What's up?
What's up, team? What's up, squad?
No, it was me. I scared him. My bad.
Hey. So ugly.
Can you throw your all?
Yeah, just wait together.
So, it sounds really good.
Hold on.
He has 52,000 subs on Twitch. He could afford a nicer headphone or a more expensive microphone. He doesn't use one because this gets the job done. you know? So it's more than enough. It's really solid. Sucks to suck, dude. Just casually taking in like $150,000, $200,000 a month. I'm not jealous. You're jealous. Oh, God. Delete that. Close. Remind me later. Close. Okay. I hate when you see a pro streamer using headset mics. It's so bad. Yeah, it's just... It is what it goes to show you. Streamers really don't need the highest end, like the highest fidelity. You really don't. If anything, and I've said this before, I think sometimes having really high fidelity can be a turn off to viewers. I think viewers look at it and see, oh, this guy's live right now with 120 people in chat, but he has a very high production value. There must be something wrong, because if with this production value, you'd think thousands of people in chat. So there must be something wrong, so I'm not going to click. And it's like a weird turnoff. It's weird how it works, but I honestly think for growing, sometimes it's more beneficial to have a crappier setup because it will come off as you being the underdog. Whereas when you have a really nice setup, people just assume you've already made it and they don't need to go the extra mile to help you out. You know, it's funny how it works. Thesaurus Rex, my Astro A40s are going on 7 years and still work like day one. Awesome. I must have screwed them up somehow. I don't know how, but my left ear cup, you guys would be in chat and I would be like, what is that sound? It's like peaking every time they would talk. It, like Kratos would talk, low frequency, not even like a high frequency tinny thing, but he would be talking, boy, and it would like peak. All my levels were good. All my cables are good. There's no interference. Everything's good. I have like line loop hum eliminators all throughout the sound chain. No issue should be there, and I would still run into it. Asmongold is a prime example of keeping it simple and staying simple. Same house, same ass room, same ass old trees. Yeah, or teas. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Asmongold, but I think it's because he's the king of the neckbeards. Like he has been elected and selected by God as the king of the neckbeards. So if he ever just exploded with production values, it would come off as disingenuous and it wouldn't be Asmongold anymore, because Asmongold is known for being like a cave dwelling goblin who plays video games, and it's great, you know? So I think that's the big thing. Official opinion of the official monitor released by Sony. It looks very lackluster. I don't know why you would spend a ton of money on it. There's nothing that monitor does that others don't do for cheaper. LG has some amazing monitors for very cheap. Just go buy those. Like, there's no reason to do it other than just being a Sony pony. And honestly, it doesn't even look that unique. Like Apple, at least I understand. Like, have you guys seen the freaking Apple? Hold on. That Apple monitor that they have? The like Pro display, whatever. Official site, Apple. Maybe Mac is where it's listed. TV and home, maybe? No. Accessories, maybe? Monitor, Mac accessories, studio display. This isn't even like the most expensive one. Because don't they have like... It's like a $5,000 display? $2,000, $2,300. Here it is. Pro Display Nano Texture Glass. I think that just means it's an anti-glare thing. This is what the monitor looks like. Okay, it's got the cheese grater finish. This thing is extremely expensive, and there are some studio reference monitors like that are probably $1,000 less than this. The point is, like, this isn't an absurdly expensive monitor for the use case. But what does make it stupid is that in order to use it, you have to get a specific adapter to mount it for $200 or buy their stand, which they also charge $1,000 for. Like, that's ridiculous. That is actually ridiculous. But the monitor itself is actually, apparently, according to people who like know what they're talking about, is actually pretty impressive in terms of the quality of color output and all of that. But this at least looks like an Apple display. Like this looks like an Apple product, so I can understand buying it. The PlayStation monitor doesn't really look like a PS5. It doesn't look to be in the same family of products. It just looks like a kind of crappy gaming monitor. So I don't really understand the appeal. I hate Apple, but one thing I will never hate on is their display calibrating. Phenomenal out of the box calibrations. For real, dude. Like, it's insane. Same with audio. They have really good audio management. And previously, I've thought Apple has really solid build quality and software consistency. I've run into a couple of issues, like I mentioned with my iPhone 14 Pro Max, where I had some software issues. I was told by somebody, though, that if I went in and just did a factory reset and didn't restore from a previous backup, that would fix all my issues. So I might try that. Because I really like being an iPhone user. I like having an iPhone. I love the consistency of the products. I love the Apple Watch is night and day better than any other smartwatch on the market. I love that stuff. I love being an Apple user. But I cannot tolerate crappy software, videos randomly pausing, the phone randomly shutting itself off, requiring a hard restart in the morning. Like, I can't stand that stuff. So if I can find a way to do a hard restart or hard reset and get the phone working the way it's supposed to, I'm in. So. Yeah, and there goes the chance to get the God of War review code. Yeah, telling Sony, yeah, your monitor sucks. I think at this point, I'm not at the size where Sony is like, we really need to keep Luke happy, otherwise he might badmouth us. Which is where they're at with, like, you know, Skill Up and some of those big guys, even Yong to a certain extent. So they're trying very, very hard to keep those guys happy, and so they will, you know, bend over and you know, fillet them whatever they need to make a positive video. They really suck up to those creators. But I just don't think I'm personally there yet. I think I'm still at the point where they're like, no, he's only got, what, 1/3 No. Tell him to suck it. Tell him to go play some Last of Us Part 1 and have a great time. You know, and I can't really blame him. Let's see. Like, you know, I'm still gonna play the game, and they know that. And I'm sure that's part of their consideration. They're like, so this guy he doesn't just do reviews. He does critiques and stuff after the fact. Okay. So he doesn't need the game day one. Okay. He's still gonna buy the game even if we don't send it. Okay. Then we'll just not send it. So all the more props to, like, you know, the Ubisofts and Focus Entertainments and those guys of the world, because even after I bash them, like the Ubisoft stuff, they still come back and they still will send me review codes, and you know, they could be much worse. They could blacklist me, but they don't. Damn it, New Year's resolution. I'm getting into game reviewing. Do it, Thesaurus. You can do it. Dude, I plugged in my headphones, the audio boost. Holy, yeah, see, makes a difference. I'm a recent subscriber, but I've quickly become a big fan. If I was a YouTuber, I'd definitely have your sort of style. Appreciate it, my friend. Crusadus, thank you, my friend. Bend over and pick up the soap, you're damn right. To be honest, I am a last-gen peasant. I am in Australia, and it's very hard to get either the PS5 nor the or Series X with the new Plague Tale run well. Is it even available on PlayStation 4? Hold on. Focus Entertainment. Is it even Game Pass? What if we just try to pre-order? Let's just say pre-order. Yeah, I think it's just current gen. Series X and PS5. So I guess it won't hold up because it's only last gen. So that's my feedback, I guess. You, Skill Up, and ACG are the people I watch for new game reviews, and I watch Angry Joe for fun. Oh, that's good. That's good. I appreciate that. Thank you. It's putting me in some nice company. Appreciate that. Yeah, for real, Luke is like the only honest reviewer left. Lots I follow lost me with the Cyberpunk hyping. Yeah, I get that. And I'm sure like I'm going to be blindsided with some stuff eventually. It's going to happen. Everybody has like makes big mistakes and screws up. The point is, it's how you respond to it and how you try to deal with it and fix it. The reason I teased Yang Ya so long and so much was because he like tried to bury it and pretend like it never happened and refused to like really address it. He unlisted all of the videos where he hyped up Cyberpunk and just tried to bury it. Then when people noticed, he made a video about it and tried to be like, no, I'm just trying to move on from this. And it's like, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. So, and Chill Up, I don't know if he did any stuff with Cyberpunk. I have never really watched his stuff, if I'm being honest. But he, I know people tease him all the time for being a shill. I don't know where that started or what game he's a shill for. I do know that he tends to play very, very nice with the big corporations that send him review codes. Whereas maybe I should learn from him and be much nicer to them, because then they'll send me review codes more often. But what are you going to do? Let's see. Is there a critique looking back that you kind of regret making? I don't really remember a critique specifically I regret making. I remember multiple times where I've made videos and then I see that the developers have seen the videos and are responding to it. I'm like, ooh, maybe I should have phrased things a little nicer. Like the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 or Kingdom Come Deliverance critique. The developer saw that. The game director shared it and told me that he shared it with the developers working on the next game. Like they shared it between the design staff. They watched it as like homework to like work on improvements for the next game. Like that's a lot of responsibility all of a sudden. It's like, okay, I really need to think through what I'm saying before I just throw it out there. Matt, thank you for watching that, my friend. Appreciate it. Same with Chris. Just saw the Playtale review. Look how it looks like it's going to surpass expectations. Yeah, I think it's tremendous. I really do. Do you have to ask or do devs send you review codes? Bit of both. It used to be that they would send them after you get the first one. Nowadays, it seems like they stopped doing that because they were just sending out a ton of review codes. And I think a lot of reviewers were just handing the codes to friends and stuff or to patrons and things. So now it's very much like you have to ask for it. I'm sure when you hit like 1 million subs, they just send it to you and they try to get you to be their best friend. But, and like, 3-4 years ago, it was probably at my size, they would suck up to a lot more. But, as YouTube's become more mainstream, more channels have hit 1 million subs or have hit 300,000 subs. So now 1 million is the new 300,000. Like, it's just, that's how it's changed. Must feel weird for devs to use your videos for guidance. Yeah, it is weird. And it makes you really careful with what you bash and how you reference stuff. Like you can say, I don't know who designed this skin and this outfit. Some dumbass did this. Like seriously, were they high? Like you can kind of joke about it, but the odds are decently high, at least for my type of content, that the person who designed that outfit will see the video. Like that's a huge amount of responsibility. So like all of a sudden you don't want to bash stuff like that in that insensitive way. You want to be a little more understanding that somebody spent weeks working on this. It's just because you don't like it doesn't mean that somebody is a moron for doing it. Between Plague Tale and Persona 5, this is a good week for Game Pass. Yeah, for real. For real. Sonny, love your videos, Luke. What monitor do you use for gaming? If you go to my link tree that's in the description, you can see my kit or my setup. And I have links to everything I use in the studio, so you can see all of that. I have to update it with like the headphone information and stuff, but everything from the cameras to the lenses to the lights to the computer hardware to the monitors, everything. The monitor I'm using is a Samsung G7, 240 hertz at 1440p. Works great, like it, no complaints. Scoring yet? I have not tried it. I watched Maddie's review and he seemed to have a little bit of a mixed experience with it. Oh, sorry, Playman. I'm sorry. I keep missing your question. If I keep missing it, that's my bad. Let's see. Let's see. Fidelio X2s. Do I have X2 HRs? Yeah. For these, where's the spec sheet? Impedance 30 ohms. So these things, they look solid. I'd say these, it looks like they might actually benefit from like higher resolution. I don't know about the full like title thing with mastered fidelity. I'd have to dig in a little bit to the spec sheet to see what these do specifically. I don't know if you need the full like mastered quality, but at the very least, like the Spotify high quality preset, and then, you know, maybe the hi-fi version of title you'd benefit from, as long as they're wired. They're 30 ohm impedance headphones, which is solid, and not a huge issue, but it's pretty common for smaller drivers for it to be lower like that. So you won't need like a dedicated amp or anything, but they look pretty decent. Oh, Stefan, please pause the stream for a minute. I need to go to the bathroom. With Windows gaming, you never know. It can be very lucky or have crap experience. Yeah. Konami and Silent Hill, I am not sold. I am very skeptical. I would put money on it, actually, that it ends up being like a pachinko machine or something. Silent Hill, like, slot machine. Would not surprise me. Did you see the YouTube video of The Witcher 3 modded to 8K? I did not. I might look that up, though. That sounds crazy. That sounds crazy. Who needs that? Nobody. But is it cool? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It is like, yeah, it's like 87 degrees in here right now. So I think I'll call it there. It is freaking hot. I'm very sorry, Stefan. I wasn't able to pause long enough. But I think I'll pause it there for the day. Tomorrow we have another video going up. I can't say what it is, but it's pretty straightforward. I think I can say what it is. I won't, just to be safe. But I have a video coming up tomorrow. And then after that, we will try to get another video out Friday, the Plague Tale critique. And, you know, we'll see if we get a code for Gotham Knights at some point today. I kind of doubt it if we haven't received it already. Same with God of War. If we were going to get it, I think we would have already gotten it. So what are you going to do? Yeah, I think Imperium is on to something with his... his suggestion. It's just a quick little video, don't worry. Real quick, Luke, how many hours a week do you work? I mean, I would say work is a generous term, but I would say like I probably spend somewhere between 40 and 60 hours a week doing YouTube related stuff. That would be my guess. But alrighty. Thank you guys, everybody. Much love, everybody, for coming out. Thank you for chilling with me. Thanks for hanging out for a quicker stream that turned into a more of a regular length stream. I appreciate all of you. I will see you Wednesday in the next stream, or Friday for the next video, or tomorrow for the next video, whatever. Either way, I will see you guys. Much love. Stay safe out there. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.